your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Y'all know what it is. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. And I thank those of you that have hit the share button. It appears that we are already at 12, which is pretty good for the first few minutes. Shouts out to everybody in here. Dangerous Mind, Gale at Night, Misanthropic Altruist. Make sure I didn't forget anybody. Okay, nope, did not. Those that I know are in. And that means that there are about 10 others right now. Shouts out to you all listening to Lion of MGTOW. Good afternoon. I know it's afternoon there, early afternoon where you are. I don't know if y'all went to daylight savings time or not, actually, in North America. I'm not sure. But in any case, I mean, the earliest it could be there is 12 noon right now, like just turned 12. That's if y'all did go to daylight savings time. What's going on, Chance Rogers? Something about having that hashtag Leslie Jones that really, it really does a lot. I don't know. I mean, having a hashtag tells me, well, the reactions to it do tell me a good bit about what people really think. Not a lot of people are talking about her, but a lot of people are paying attention. How's everything grab second gear, Eddie? And therefore, it tells me that there are more that are seeing than there are that are saying. And I'm not really one to obsess about any particular event or person, but I do obsess about our ability to learn the lessons from them and to really learn what they mean. In other words, what happened is usually limited in its importance, but why it happened is more important because it determines what will happen later on. And if you fully understand it, then you can know what's coming down the pike, what's going to happen, not because you can see the future. We're not prophets, but you'll be able to figure it out based on the patterns because you'll understand the forces that are behind. And that's why I pay attention to these things. Steve Harvey's marriage and divorce and him being cheated on are not in and of themselves a big deal. It's not like it happened to me or even to anyone close to me, but the reasons for it are going to determine whether this is going to happen to others as well. It's about what we can learn from it. If he doesn't stand a chance, then we don't stand a chance. And we have to understand that we don't. We don't stand a chance. Not in the West. He is a tool. He is a utility to Marjorie. Now, if the rumors are true or if they're false, he's already told us that he is a tool and a utility. She's there because of the money, but he's not allowed to leave her if she gets breast cancer and has to lose both of her mammaries. And he's not allowed to cheat with a woman that still has some big old heavy hangers. He's not allowed to. That's a double standard. So, if men get up in age or if they just get sick and they can't perform in the bed and she cheats, everybody understands if he gets locked up, even if it's for something he didn't do, everybody understands. People understand when they heard rumors that Winnie Mandela was cheating. I'm talking about rumors. I don't know if she did or not, but the rumors were there. Well, they understood, even though her husband was completely right. Politically speaking, Nelson Mandela was completely right. The ones that jailed him were wrong. When the rumors came about, people still understood. In case they were true, they understood. That doesn't work both ways anymore. Even though polygyny is natural and polyandry is unnatural, people still don't understand. And so this is part of why I tell men, don't be understanding if your wives tell you something against polygyny. Whether you stay with her or not, don't be understanding about it. And I had to, I said that before I even got married to my current wife. And when she said that she wasn't going to go for it, I had to be mean to her too. It's not because I don't love her. And I don't plan on marrying someone else, but I had to tell her, look, the rules are this. I'm not allowed to make an agreement with you promising you I'll never marry anybody else. I'm not allowed to do that. It's not allowed. And you're not allowed to give me grief about it. Now, if you catch me treating y'all unequally, that's something else. I had to be that same way. So what I say had to apply to me as well. But I don't really want to get into just this happened per se and let's obsess about it. So let's keep that in mind for this one, for my previous uploads and lives and recordings and of any type of recording, and for the future ones to come. This is not about one isolated incident. This is about what we can learn from it, what it means. This is about the context behind them that allowed them, maybe even forced them. Leslie Jones didn't have a choice in what she faced, what she faces, I should say. She had a choice in how she reacted. We understand this because a lot of us men are facing the same thing. We don't necessarily have a choice in what we face. We face what we face because of reasons that are not even so much as they're not even voluntary. That we don't have any say so over what we face. It's just it's there, and it's not going to go away. It's not going to change. We don't have to do anything wrong to face these things. We face them. End of. In my last upload, which was not long ago, and to which I haven't even responded to all of the comments, I stated how sisters can learn from Leslie because they're doing to themselves that into which Leslie was born and must face without doing to herself. Make no mistake about it. I'm not siding with Leslie overall because she didn't have to react by attacking passport bros by name, which we know is just attacking BMPTs by extension, since they aren't distinct anyway in the eyes of the hyenas. A red pill aware man is the same as a passport bro, is the same as SYSBM, is the same as Captain Samuels. They're all the same to a hyena. We are all the same to a hyena. Any BMPT is the same, and any BMPT sympathizer is the same. I'm going to do like attorney Dennis Sperling and say, somebody type BMPT in the chat. Peace, Keith Smith. What's good? Thank you so much, Break the Cycle. I appreciate that. I say share button too. And of course, I like the Cash Apps as well. But I want to thank those who came through on that before, especially C. Burke. And this particular live stream is in honor of C. Burke, who came through quite generously. If everything else goes as planned and as normal, I am that much closer to getting the sign for the business that we're allowed to get. I told my agent, he was told by the landlord to not worry about the fire escape. I told my agent, you know what, before we listen to him, let's consult with a lawyer. That will cost a lot less, and we can make sure. You let me know what that is, and I'll try to send something for that. But before we get the sign without the fire escape, we'll consult with a lawyer and show him the message you got from the landlord. As long as it actually is not required, we will proceed forward. If it is, then not only will we proceed with the sign, but we will then hit the landlord up and say, look, you know what? That's on you, because you said not to worry about it. And we got the message here, so it's on you to do that. We'll pay the rent, but we're getting the sign, and you got the fire escape. I just want to, cross the eyes, everything else. Anyway, that is that's the state of that, in case somebody wanted to ask. So we are not distinct in the eyes of the hyenas, our haters. We are, in fact, all the same. We are one, black men, you can just roll up into one big Negro, as Dr. Tiger Hassan Johnson has put it. And if you're red pill aware, then they can roll you all up into one big new Kevin Samuels, because they don't even realize that the space was there before Kevin Samuels, that actually we preceded Kevin Samuels into space. He took it mainstream because of some circumstances, which I'll never forget. I've repeated them so often to so many people that I cannot forget the circumstances. So that being said, I am refusing to blame Leslie for what she didn't do, which is to limit her looks herself and paint herself into the corner of the outcome she can't stand, because no woman really can stand those outcomes. I won't blame her for that, although I do not side with her because of what she chose to do and the reaction that she picked and elected. It is the same thing when it comes down to some others. I don't support Tasha K. I just don't think Tasha K should ever pay Cardi B. But I also look at us and I say, well, that may have been on us, because, if those men did not fight, if the men that she did this to fought dirty, fought back and fought dirty when she made the confessions, she would have been so damn busy with those cases, she would have either not had the time and the focus to go after Tasha K, or she would have not had the time and the focus to win that lawsuit. Either one. I don't care if Tasha K goes broke. I just don't think that Cardi B should be the beneficiary. I don't really support R. Kelly if he was getting down with underage, and I mean real minors, like he was. But the thing is, R. Kelly was a victim before he became the monster. I don't necessarily want him to, just ride off into the sunset with a whole lot of money and his freedom. But I don't support Tasha K either. This is one of those situations. I am simply refusing to blame Leslie for what she did not do. She did not do to herself what she was facing before she went on her rant. See, Leslie has the option of either paying for the pain she doesn't want or not paying and getting no peen at all. She didn't put herself in those options. That's something that was beyond her control. She ain't into women either. As BGS said, Leslie wishes she could be into women. She wishes she wasn't into men. She's like a straight male inmate, except outside. She doesn't have the walls and the bars and the restrictions on the movement, but she is restricted from peen and therefore from all of the non-sexual things that come with that from men. She'll have to figure it all out herself. She's got the money for it, but she ain't got the man. Well, even though she didn't do this to herself, she did react wrongly. And this is the reason. She is the reason she's getting roasted. I'm all for Corey roasting her, Corey Holcomb, because even though she didn't roast Passport Bros or any other men until she started hooking up, this is a war. And while this war is ending in some locations, it is not yet over in every location. The gender war is ending, but it is not yet completely dead. She didn't say anything about us BMPTs of any stripe or acronym for years. So it's not because she proved that if the genders were reversed, she would have had a whole lot to say about us. It's because she said something at all at any time as if men owed her a performance. If no one is owed the draws at all, then that means no one, not just men that aren't owed. See, what Leslie's going through, a lot of the trauma she's facing is probably not going to come from men. Now, if she was really seriously pursuing guys when she was younger and they were getting up and running, that may have left her feeling some kind of way every time she did it. But if you want to look at who really would have roasted her about these things, well, let's say she grew up and she had a good personality growing up. You know, guys just didn't want to smash. Who would have traumatized her more, men or women? Go ahead and put it in the chat. If she had a good personality growing up, guys just didn't want to smash, would she have been more traumatized by women, or let's say girls, depending on her age, or by males? Thinking back, she's 57, all right? Thinking back to when she was coming up, if she wasn't mean to men, who would have given her the roughest time? I'm starting to wonder if there's a lag or a delay in the sound. I don't see an answer in the chat yet. Man, foot to work. All right, got one. I got two. Got it, all right? A Dangerous Mind said it would have been ladies that would have traumatized her more. She'd have been roasted, yeah. Yeah, she'd have been roasted. Not so much by us. Miss Anthropic Altruist said that. And it is true. We've seen when hyenas hate when other women develop a personality. That's why hyenas are now calling fair-minded and even-handed women pick-me's. They're always doing that. Because they especially hate it if a woman's nice to look at and then also has a nice personality. They know they can't compete. But now we also have an answer from Gail at Night, from a sister saying to us that it's women. Men would not have been willing to traumatize somebody for something beyond, especially back in that day and age when she was coming up. She would have been a teenager probably in the 80s. So chances are back then, brothers would not have really been that willing to traumatize her too much about something beyond the control. Would she have come across the occasional? Yeah. But as often, you know, a guy would not have really been willing to traumatize her more. A guy would not have been willing to roast her more than he was getting roasted for something else. So I'm not saying that no man would have ever roasted her, but more, most seriously, with the most conviction and the least sense of humor. Keith Smith said the same. We haven't had a disagreement yet. So you all have seen the same thing I'm seeing. Break the Cycles, it said the women are mean to other women. Yep, I've seen that. But also women are hive-minded and need the fellow approval from them. So we're seeing the same thing. Now, I went live now to tell you, gentlemen, that Leslie just proved that we have been fighting hatred all along. I'm going to do like Attorney Dennis Sperling again and say, someone type hatred in the chat. Gail, in all honesty, I would have said the same thing if I didn't see them show so much more hatred of us. If it weren't for that, I would have said the same, because it's not hard to believe until you see them turn their hatred more so towards us. Break the cycle. You were lucky because she told the truth. That's very important. Because you told the truth, because she told the truth to you, you were actually somewhat fortunate. But when you set up and you wrote this here, and I'm putting it on the screen, this actually says a lot. I want other brothers to understand that if they do fail, it is not their fault. That's one of the cruxes in my message. And this is something we got to spread. We got to start telling, especially these young brothers, hey, look, it ain't your fault. You might be a goofball, young brother, but if they don't let you know objectively what the standards are, and if they have mass standards, a hive mind, then that makes it easier for them to tell you what the mass standards are. And if they can't do that, how can it be your fault? See, when a lot of young brothers are young and inexperienced and therefore clumsy and goofy, which is only which is something that everybody has to go through, men or women, that inexperienced, awkward stage, there's a certain reaction that a guy gets. And I understand that you would expect that as long as the women get the same thing, which they don't en masse. The issue is this: as you get older and you learn how to be less awkward, less goofy, you learn more how to be smoother in general. And the results don't get any better. And the feedback only gets worse. It's designed intentionally to leave you with the impression that you were just as goofy at 27 as you were at 12. When it comes to the women, that you're just as much, you're just as awkward and unknowing. That's what they're trying to do. That is true, front toward enemy. Where we have, and this is one of the crux, this is one of the core messages, not even of my channel, but of the Black manosphere in general. They do team up. They absolutely do. This is the other thing. This is one of the reasons I came on live right here. LOM said it. When they're trying to go back to the table, and then she turns around and says this: why are the hyenas remaining silent if they're trying to go back to this proverbial table? And they want us to go back to this proverbial table. Why are we not hearing them say something to her? Gail, I'm going to say this about that situation. In this feud, if someone would ask me for whom I root, I would say that I follow receipts, and that's if I'm mentally capable of keeping up with everything. I can't say that I am in this case. I'd like to be, I'm just not. But I will say this: I am rooting against Rhoda in this case. You see, Rhoda was able to get sisters together on a lie. And I know, Gail, I understand that y'all don't like each other. I really do. I mean, I don't just mean you and a particular person with whom you're feuding. I mean, I understand that sisters in general don't, that Western Black women particularly don't like each other. I realize that. But Rhoda Osman's case, and the fact that she was able to get that kind of money, tells me who's hated more. I don't think that many Western Black women really like each other a whole lot. I think it's a little bit, but not much. But one of the reasons why I've been saying is hatred so much, Gail, is because that they consistently show hatred for us more. If you think about it, how does a group that does not like each other agree to deceive somebody else? If a group that doesn't like itself agrees to deceive someone else, even to its own detriment, that tells you that they hate somebody else more than they dislike each other. And that was the reason why I had the opinion and have the opinion that the most hatred is directed at us. Now, granted, I will say this too, though. You will see some hatred, because if you don't hate us and they hear that you don't hate us, then they will hate you more because they see you as a traitor. So you will come across probably more hatred than even we would. They would say, well, I see why the men are the way they are. They dudes, but why don't you, Gail, turn around and help us keep the secret? Why don't you maintain this how effing dare you not maintain the secrecy? And I want to give a shout out to Debt Payer for coming through on the Cash App. From the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind, thank you. I'm wondering, Misanthropic Altruist, if the whole thing is a psyop. I kind of wonder about that. Now, this enigmatic, this tells me something. They are contacting her. They're mad because someone broke ranks and provided you with a good treatment. And I'm assuming that the Colombiana is nice looking to you as well. I'm assuming that it's not just the treatment, but it's the appearance and the treatment together. And that is exactly what it is that they have come together to agree that we were not supposed to have. Now, again, for them to have this agreement means that that's some sort of that's a conspiracy. BGS in the mother cuss word house. The tighter the grip, the more will escape. And I hope that they whether they loosen or tighten the grip, I'm hoping more of us escape. But I do agree, when they keep trying it. And when Leslie thought she was going to do was shame, blame, and explain, or at least shame and blame, she thought she was going to do it. But there's more. Hold on a second. Before I continue on, let me look at this right quick. Let y'all look at this. Oh, wow. Well, that was yesterday, huh? Just yesterday. God damn. If it wasn't so late here, I would try to bring some people up and I would try to hear this story. I don't plan to be on here too late because it's already, I'm an old man and it's already getting close to my bedtime, but I had to go live for a little bit if I could. So moving on, sisters know damn well what Leslie said on the Breakfast Club. It's not just Black American men that know. No, it's Western English-speaking Black folks, period. Men or women that know what Leslie said on that Breakfast Club. They're well aware. It didn't go over their heads. It wasn't under their radar. They also know why Leslie is having problems. And they know it's not something she can control, but they know why she's having problems. I mean, Leslie proved that she herself knows why. She made both serious comments and jokes alike about her own looks. She did that, not us. She roasted herself. Funny? Yeah, sure. But I mean, come on. She did this. Tika, walaikum salam. Yeah, Gail, that's right. That's right. Thank you. Make sure it's at the live chat. So she knows, she proved that she knows. And if she knows and, and she said it, then that means that the sisters know why she's having this issue. But the thing is that most sisters were not born on those railroad tracks on which she was born that lead to only the same results in the end to which she's headed. They have options. The difference between Leslie and them is that they're still ready to look at her and where she's headed, which is, definitely dying alone, having lived alone. And they're ready to work so hard for that same result, even though that's a result for which she would gladly give up her face to avoid. If she's hooking up, she's paying for peen. So she's paying to avoid that same result, and she's still getting exactly what she doesn't want, which is that result that she's paying to avoid. She can't pay for what she wants. The hyenas don't realize that to non-Black men, they are Leslie Jones. They're learning. I think they actually do realize it. I take that back. That's who they are. They're looking at Leslie Jones and they're silent because they realize, wait a minute, hold up. What she is to brothers, in the bedroom at least, is what we are to non-Black men, only worse because it's not just in the bedroom. They see us like that in and outside the bedroom, last choice, last resort. That's why it is that they don't validate sisters. The same validation that women tend to want is exactly what non-Black men are denying sisters. And that's not based on nationality. That's race. That is race. They may not hate Black women a lot of times. A lot of times they actually don't hate Black women. That's true, they don't. The average non-Black man ain't walk around hating Black women as a race, but then they look at Western sisters and they can't stand them. They get sick of them, just looking at them. They see TV and you know what? They're like, okay, well, if she's going to stand up on the stage or in front of a camera and put on a performance, that's great. But in real life, I know I would have to just go across her jaws. She get to rolling her neck and sassing me. And her hair's nappy. Who the hell does she think she is? Because they don't tolerate this from their own, and depending on which culture from which they come. So they're realizing this. It's coming, it's coming across to them that that's what's going on. They look at her and they realize, oh, whoa, that's part of the reason why they're silent. They're looking at her and they're realizing, oh, damn, that's actually us. Oh, damn, it's us too. So the other thing too is not just that they're realizing that they are Leslie Jones to these non-Black men. And sometimes even, and again, it's not even because, but even to traditional Black men, especially if they're traditional Black men, but they have money. From traditional societies, but they have money. They're realizing that not because of their looks, but because of their attitudes, they're Leslie Jones even to these men. And they also, they're slowly realizing that Leslie Jones is the female version of what they've been trying to convince the majority of us Black men that we are. The goofy 12-year-old, the last choice anyone that a woman with any options would choose. They want you and you and you and me each to think we're the worst guy to women and with women than any other guy. So what I mean is they won't break the cycle to think that he's the worst guy with women. They won't break the cycle to think that he's worse than Enigmatic or Front Toward Enemy or Art Bunker or me. And then they want Enigmatic to think he's worse than Break the Cycle or Art Bunker or Front Toward Enemy or me. And then they want Front Toward Enemy to think that he's worse than Break the Cycle or Enigmatic or Art Bunker. Do you understand? The hell kind of conspiracy is that? You see that? That's what they want you and me to think we are, each of us individually, to think that we are just like we're the last choice and it's because of us, not because of their attitude, but because of us. There's a certain way they wanted us to think of ourselves, and yet Leslie Jones, without any conspiracy, is the female version of that. And they're looking at her and saying, oh, damn. They wanted you and me to have an insecurity, and they're looking at her and they're realizing that her insecurity is justified. She has to have it. If we were each convinced that every other guy was better than us, then we would all shut up and never compare notes and find out what the game is. Guess what? We found out. And they were looking at exactly who should not be talking, who should not have chosen this reaction, and she's chosen this reaction with 2 cameras pointed at her. Because the Breakfast Club is not only a radio show, but it's also televised. Somebody type in the chat, Charlemagne, not a god. Thanks for coming in, Break the Cycle. I appreciate that, man. I hope you have a good rest of the day. And you know what, Break the Cycle, I understand. Believe you me, bro. I get it. You're not the only one to quit either. D said he quit in his early 30s. And the thing is, I actually did. I quit too. I didn't quit sisters altogether, but I did quit making approaches. I pretty much said the right one has to have all her ducks in a row and damn near land in my lap. I went home and told my parents that summer after my freshman year at Morehouse. I didn't tell them it was hopeless, but I said what's not going to happen is I make an approach. I'm not doing it. I'm not making first phone calls. I'm not asking them for their numbers. And one dude that women were chasing down tried to tell me, you ain't got no confidence. No, I can believe that I'm worthy. I can believe that, but I can't believe that sisters can see my value. I could not believe that then. And I'm not the only one. That's what I'm talking about. I'm mentioning this because this is what they were able to do to many of you. But then they come along, and if you said, okay, look, I'm done with the mess, they would say, well, you just don't have any confidence. Then when you have confidence and you say, well, I'm allowed to have standards too, since I have to meet standards. Oh, you allowed to have standards. Don't you think you need to take a look at yourself? It didn't matter which way you went, you were wrong. So they get you hopping from foot to foot to foot. And here along comes Leslie. The funny thing is that we can identify with her, although we're upset and she was wrong in her reaction. We can actually identify with her situation, although look what the hell it took for her to be in that situation versus what the hell it took for us. She's the female version of that without us gaslighting her into thinking she is. And again, I don't say it to knock her. But that's the point. The other thing that shows the hatred is that we never had a damn thing to say about her until she attacked black men who traveled to get away from, not even from her, but from other women with the bad attitudes. We weren't running from her. We did not run towards her. We did not run from her. She was under the radar. She complained and made jokes about that. She was not the one we identified as the enemy. She was just the one we weren't after. We didn't hate her. We didn't roast her. Well, not too much. Corey Holcomb never roasted her. With all his roasting skills, he never had a further-mucking thing to say about her until she started on Passport Bros, which really means she was going in on black men who are red pill aware and who have passports or who promote getting passports. I didn't say anything about her. I never thought about her until Cortez Jones sent me that link. He didn't think anything about it. He never roasted her until she reacted the way she did on the Breakfast Club. Wake that ass up. Well, she woke up some people. If we just disliked black women for being black women, we would have roasted her a hell of a lot more, a lot sooner, with no provocation, and a lot more often. We didn't. This proves the direction of the hatred. Who provoked this? It damn sure wasn't us. We didn't. Ironically, though, there's a crop of black boys currently being raised by these single moms and these 403s and these city girls. And they're going to dislike and even hate black women for reasons. But they will grow to hate even the appearance of black women too, because the hatred will be that deep, because they will have seen through the effery from a young age. So when by the time they're 18, they will not have just begun to realize certain things. No, they will have spent half their childhood being aware of certain dysfunctions and efferys. And they're going to hate Leslie Jones and her doppelgangers too on sight. Now that young crop is another story for another recording. But I can say this, they have very few predecessors among our own age group. But as I said, they're very few. I only know one. He and I are the same age, and I actually know him from his semester at Morehouse, but he doesn't remember me, and he shouldn't. I was a nobody at that time. The thing is, he's my age, but he no longer can stand the look of black women. He doesn't like the 4C hair and the nose and the lips. He's been conditioned through not only bad treatment, but by being able to contrast that with good treatment from women that actually look the way men would like them to look, and they are in shape and they are feminine. They have options and they treat him better. He looked at the two and said, damn, now he can't stand the way black women look. He didn't start his life off like that. He was conditioned. But as I said, I already touched on that in previous recordings, and that may be a story for another recording. But the issue is that sisters have seen and witnessed this. They know that we didn't roast Leslie more than she roasted herself. I mean, she rarely got roasted by any dudes. We didn't roast her even as much as she roasted herself. They're able to see all of this. They never at any point said to each other, you know, we don't all have to go through what she's going through. Maybe if we change our attitudes, especially when we're nice to look at, instead of saying that because we're nice to look at, we have to have a bad attitude. Instead of saying that, instead of entertaining this low boiling contempt that we sometimes flare up into a full-blown hatred, maybe we could try showing them that they actually mean something and not waiting until we got a bunch of other men's kids, STDs, debt, trauma, can't pair bond, high body counts, no snapback. Instead of waiting until that point, they didn't say that. Instead, they remained silent about her rant, or they supported it and said, yes, these niches is pitiful. The fact that she felt comfortable enough to roast dudes who had not roasted her on that show with a camera, 2 cameras on her, tells us that the sisterhood has sent a clear message to all and sundry, that as long as you are downing black men, you're in the clear and you're immune to the hyper scrutiny for which the hyenas are notorious. That's how much they hate us. They're notorious for this hyper scrutiny and hypercriticism, but they reserve it for only black men who disagree with their games, like red pill aware black men, and the women who disagree with their games too, as many of you, including Gail, have said. Be a lady and disagree with them. And especially if you are a nice looking, in shape, young black woman disagreeing with them, oh my God, then they really hate you. Then they come out with the hypercriticism. But they're reserving that. Yeah, the hypercriticism is there. They're notorious for it, but they save it so that it can be directed at black men. And by extension, the black women who either believe that we deserve fair treatment, romantically and sexually and maritally and otherwise, or that love us altogether and prefer us and believe that we deserve special treatment. Either, as long as you ain't one of those that is against us, they're coming for you. You can get that hypercriticism too. And after that, nothing you do or say will be right. And that's what they're saying in this case. Proof that it was hatred. She wants to complain about what men can't do. You know what? She also, sisters looked at her and said, wait a minute. That means that black men actually have some kind of standard. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a high standard just because men won't give her any, but it does mean that black men have some sort of standard. What it means is that, we are no longer going to be the garbage pan and the garbage pail or the dustbin of the mating market. That's what this means. Whether we actually were in the beginning or not, we can debate that all day long, but the stereotype is that we were, and we're not going to be that anymore. That's what that means. Apparently, we won't just give it up to anybody. Now, growing up on the Gulf Coast, I've always known that there was some women that just couldn't get none. I've always known that. But that was never really public knowledge, I should say. I could see it, but it was never public knowledge, even amongst brothers, that, you know what, they're going to be some that just can't get none. Some ladies, I mean. We pretty much would say, well, you know, if you're a woman, you can get somebody. Then there'd be a few we'd look at and say, no, she can't get nobody. So in any case, the hyper scrutiny never extended to Leslie, despite the fact that she would have been traumatized growing up by women for that which over which she had no control, that which she did not choose, that which was beyond her reach to change. She would have been traumatized by them, but when she turned it on us and not on those who traumatized her, no hyper scrutiny, no scrutiny, no pushback. And she knew that she was immune to the same belittlement that sisters would have had for a man with legitimate gripes about even his own wife not bending the ukfova. Sorry about that. I almost said it. Or lay on the back on the other position. Someone type bend the ukfova in the chat. Sorry, Attorney Sperling, but you know, you're inspirational when you do that. D, thank you so much for the subscription. I mean that. Enigmatic. A Peaceful Life, you know what? Thank you for telling me about him. I may have heard about him before, and I just didn't. Yeah, I think I may have heard about him before. I think so. Yeah, I think I did. I forgot the name, but apparently I did hear something from him. And actually, BGS, I believe you and Tia Son Johnson played a clip from him. I didn't see it, but I think I heard it. Normally, I hear you guys. I don't necessarily see the lives when y'all BGS, when you and Tia Son Johnson, or when Attorney Dennis Sperling are usually live. I'm up in the morning getting ready for work, and I'm mad that I got to go to work. Not that I don't like my job. I'm just like, I just want to listen to this first before I go into my class. I walk into my classes someday pissed. I'm like, man, I ain't get to finish listening to that. Instead, I got to sit up here and try to teach you knuckleheads to stop saying the verb be in front of other verbs when I could be listening to some black red pill or black pill knowledge. Y'all better make it worth my y'all better make this morning worth my time. But you guys are going in the morning for me. So I'm getting ready so I can hear y'all, but I can't see y'all. And I think I heard that clip of him asking, do black men even serve a purpose in the community, or are we needed? And if I'm not mistaken, it was a boy that said, not really. If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Enigmatic, thanks for telling me the name. I've forgotten it. Yeah. Okay, Ingram Experience, if that's his name, fair enough. Okay. All right. D, if you meant you were subscribed to A Peaceful Life of the Ingram Experience, that's cool. I stand corrected. Oh, Nana. All right. Nana S. Dub came through on the Cash App. Thank you from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind. Believe me when I tell you I appreciate that. So, you know, I'm still waiting on somebody to type Ben the Ukfova in the chat. I'm still waiting. I guess that's too difficult to type on the phones because autocorrupt keeps wanting to put in the F word. But yeah, Ben the Ukfova, maybe Finn the Buck over. I don't know. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So Ingram Experience was the first one, the first channel. All right. So getting back to your girl, Leslie. The comfort that she felt is proof of the hatred and how much it's increased in the last few decades. Because see, think about it. There was a time when she could have said something like that, and we gentlemen would not have had to look at each other and say, who gonna tell her? because some of the women would have, in their willingness to traumatize each other, would have come to her and said, yeah, you're going to have those problems. You might want to shut up before one of us comes and tells you why you got them. It ain't them, it's you. All right, a dangerous. Thank you, Gail. Gail and Knight did it, spelled it correctly too, and punctuated. All right, good. Yeah, I'm noticing y'all actually punctuate more often in my chat than y'all do in each other's chats. A dangerous mind's been the ukphoba. I know, right? I know. Spell check be messing things up, or the auto corrupt in the phone. But now I see why it took a while for y'all to be able to type that in. So, yeah, she was too comfortable doing that. And those of us old enough know that there would have been a day she would not have been that comfortable. But now look at it. Look at her doing it. Just all comfortable, no fear, nothing, just ranting about dudes like don't nobody know why she's having that problem. And nobody blamed her for that. When she roasted herself, no man got up and said, yeah, well, it's your fault you look like that. Nobody did that. We laughed at the jokes, but they were her jokes. But we weren't sitting up in mass and doing this. Now we're sitting up and saying, hold up, you know goddamn well what this is. Don't blame the men. That's what we drew the line. But she was too comfortable crossing that mother cuss word line. She wasn't afraid of being roasted by dudes. Why wasn't she afraid of being roasted by the same sistren that would have roasted her when she was younger and maybe even traumatized her? Why was she not afraid? Because she can detect a change in the current. She's blaming men in the exact same way that we're not allowed to blame women, even when the women are wrong by their own standards. She's immune. Not one lady is roasting her that we know about at this point. Is some woman roasting her somewhere? Sure. Some up-and-coming comedian really trying to make it big is roasting her. But can that woman go as viral as Leslie's rant? That's impossible. And I'm not knocking whichever woman that is roasting her who cannot go viral. It's not her fault. Just like Leslie's not to blame for her appearance, it's not whatever lady's roasting her's fault that she can't go as viral. It's the media market, the culture, the times, the pulse of the people that dictate that. In other words, the damn society and its culture are the reason for this. The rarity of such woman that would roast her is also because of the damn society and its up culture. Someone type up culture in the chat. Yeah, JVA, she started this. We were not looking for this fight. It was not in our interest. You didn't want to roast her. I didn't want to. We weren't thinking about her. We didn't love her. We didn't hate her, but we would have said that she's a skilled comedian. That's what we would have said. Or somebody would have said, I don't think she's really that funny, but I mean, good enough for TV, I guess. That's what we would have said. Oh, and by the way, you know why I put that buckwheat thumbnail on there, man? I put the buckwheat thumbnail on there because she chose that hairstyle. She could do what she wants. It's up to her. But she chose that. She was trolling when she did the hairstyle. She was trolling herself. That's why I picked the thumbnail. I don't have a problem with 4C hair. Well, I take that back. I do now. But it's not because I have a problem with hatred or self-hatred. That's not why. The issue I have with it is that the women had an issue with my hair not being even kinky. They had an issue with my hair being straight. They didn't even hate it. It wasn't even that. It's just that they thought that I was going to be less masculine partially based on that. That's the issue I've got with it. And I didn't know why they kept thinking this way until eventually, like I said, 2001, someone broke it down for me. Ironically, I think her name was Rebecca or Becky, a sister at my job in 2001, broke it down for me. She's like, you ain't gonna scare, you too light and your hair straight. You cannot scare anybody. She said to me, the way you sound may give the people the impression that you're not to be walked over, but you're not necessarily going to scare someone the same way. And sisters like to be a little bit afraid of whatever black man they with. And she even said to me, you actually kind of in a pickle because you don't let people walk over you. And people can see that, but sisters are like, well, I don't want anybody to know that I can't walk over him because I should be able to. So, yeah, in this case, a woman that does roast her cannot go as viral. Even if it was a famous comedian, as famous as her, roasting her would not be able to go as viral because the truth is simply less popular. And that's not even something that's the case with us brothers. We brothers don't sit up and say, well, because something's true, we don't like it, and we're going to pay money, we're going to boycott the truth and support lies with our dollars. That's not even something that, hell, I don't even think white guys are doing that necessarily a lot of times until it comes to politics and race. Now, when politics and race intersect, they'll do that. Even white guys will do that. And that's because they know they got to put whiteness first. They're expected to. But that's a different talk for another time. But bros ain't doing that. Bros don't sit up and say, because something's true, we don't like it, so we ain't going to support it. We're going to boycott it. That ain't even something pick-me's are doing. But how many Western black women are pick-me's too? And this is a very nice thing for you to say, front toward enemy. That right there, that's a very nice thing. And what that shows is that you're not coming from a place of hatred. Most of us weren't. So what Leslie showed right now was further proof that we do not hate. Even those who fought a gender war against us, we don't hate, and they do. We don't hate them. They do hate us. But I'll tell you, gentlemen, even though I don't hate them, I am capable of it. A lot of you aren't even capable of hating them. I don't yet, but I am capable of it. I just don't. Maybe I'm capable of it because of my white blood. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe it's something else. I'm not really sure. I can hate, but I'm not capable of hatred for things that are beyond their control. I don't hate any sort of DNA sequence. That's never the case. However, I'm a very hateful person towards certain behaviors. I'm a very hateful person when it comes to things that people choose, that they elect and then carry out. And they chose to fight a war. I'm gonna let you black men know something. I'm gonna tell y'all straight. Black men, I'm actually very vaingloriously proud of you. And I have been for a while. I don't know of a country in which any red carpet is just rolled out for you when it comes to getting money, getting opportunities. Now, when it comes to being treated well, I'm aware that in Southeast Asia, you might actually be more selected. That I am aware of. I've got a hypothesis about that, and I'm going to wait for more feedback in the Telegram group to which I belong. It may have already been there, and I just haven't seen it yet. But I got a little bit of feedback about that. But I do want to say that now I'm aware that in that case you might have had a red carpet, which has recently been rolled out for you. But even then, was that if you talk about Southeast Asia and a warm welcome you get there, is that a red carpet that was just free, or was it one that developed over time because of the reputation that you collectively set and earned? So you got a good reputation there for the most part, and that means you earned it. I mean, the damn shit didn't come through the TV that they watched. When they watch Western TV, period, you're not only recently have you been depicted as the hero. By the time you started to be depicted as the hero, a lot of you were already finding love and good treatment in these places. My own son is in discussions, marriage discussions, with a lady living not too far from there. Man, I miss my cub. But before I get distracted by my nostalgia and missing him and his sisters, let me refocus by telling you that this is something that is being rolled out to you after you have earned it. But other than that, you don't have any place where you've gone where you have not had to face something extra. I live in Saudi. One of my students said to me a few days ago, he tried to gloss over this stuff. He said, well, Professor Black, we're not racist. It's just that we look at Black as slave. And I straight told him, little nigga, that's racist. What you mean is it's not hateful. What you mean is you don't hate Black people. You don't want to be violent at the sight of our nappy hair and our black skin. That's what you mean. But that's still racist, because what if we said that we look at everybody, your complexion, which would have probably included mine by extension, as kidnappers and the other tourists, the other T word that doesn't quite rhyme with tourists, but you know the one I'm talking about. Suppose we looked at everybody that complexion as that. Would that be racist? Before he could answer, I said, yeah, it would be. You would say so, even if you deserve it. So therefore, your lack of hatred and your lack of violence does not mean a lack of racism. And yet, even over here in Saudi, if you look like a Black bodyguard, you a brother, low haircut, got some muscle. Oh yeah. When these women decide to harass a man and they're really harassing and not trying to extort a man, it's a brother. Did y'all know that? Boy, look at here. B Deep and Mr. Hausawi have stories to tell me. And I know they ain't making it up. I was in a car with one of them when a lady pulled up. Rolled the window down, asked him a question. Hey, are my lips beautiful? She bought one of them lip jobs. And she pulled up next to my man in his car, and he said his car needs some work done. So she wasn't doing this because he was in a Lexus. I'm not knocking the man. He's doing the best he can. The point I'm making is that he doesn't have to have the money to get the attention from women. They bothering him. On occasion, some of them have tried that with me. Now, I've never had them just outright feel up on me and stuff. But stuff like, they try to shake my hand or a little bit of flirting. I'm like, listen, I don't mind a conversation, but, oh, yep, my wife's calling. Hold on. Stuff like that. And I'm barely recognizable as Black. But I have seen it here. What's the reason? Because they see Black men as being more romantic. American or Saudi, they see Black men as being more romantic. Oh, one of them got pregnant by a Nigerian doctor. Yeah, I didn't say she got married. She got knocked up. That would have been a very difficult thing for a man from this country to decide to do. To just decide, I'm going to get up in them guts and I'm going to shoot the club up. Obviously wasn't that hard for this man. The woman's a citizen. I'm not supposed to know about the case, but I know someone that's indirectly involved. So, I'm gonna let y'all know, man. You don't face necessarily ease, but what happens is that where you go, even the ladies understand that you actually did not do anything to deserve what happened. Whatever it is that happened in any particular place, they know that. And it ain't only about the BBC, the British Brainwashing Corporation. It's not just about that. So I'm actually vaingloriously proud of you, not because the women see you and flock to you. I'm vaingloriously proud of you because I've seen your talent in multiple things. I've seen you excel in what you do. Mr. Hausawi has his job. I've hung out with him on weekends when he was off, and I miss that. So when I give him an salary, I'm trying to get a ticket back to Riyadh on a weekend when he is off again. But I've hung out with him before, and he's getting phone calls on his off days from his job because they don't know what to do, but he knows. He knows it inside and out. He's long overdue for a promotion and a raise to go with that. Long overdue. He excelled. When he got that job, he excelled at it, and they all know. That's here. It's not the states we're talking about. It ain't USA, it's KSA. Now, who told him that he had to be better? How did he know he's got to be better than somebody else? This is something that we faced in general. We've gone. And I look at you and I say, man, whether it's on the continent or the Caribbean, South America or North America, you were not known to play around. And what we're finding out is that even if it's not in America, what we're finding out is that when you come across one of us that has some sort of self-hatred, from where does he learn that? Who has to bring him up to put the ideas of self-hatred into his head? He learns it from two sources. Either he learns it from not just mama, but single mama, or maybe even married mama who acted like she was a single mama, or he learns it from another man raised by a single mom. That's where a black man has to learn self-hatred. I am seeing black men across the board, while we're even being tricked in sometimes into fighting about who's ADOS and who's not, and who's Caribbean and who's continental. Sometimes we get tricked into that, but the truth be told, having lived and broken bread with brothers from all over, what I'm seeing is that we do have distinctions. Of course, we have to have them. Of course, we got to have distinctions. It's not an option. Every race has them because a race is not a nationality. Every race is multiple nationalities. But in spite of that, in our case, despite the distinction, the commonality that we have is that we excel. The truth be told, I'm not doing too badly financially. I need to be doing better if I'm going to try to get this business up off the ground and get it starting and making its profit. But the fact is that compared to most of you brothers when it comes to talent, I'm a failure. If I compare myself to many of you, I'm damn near a retard. How the hell do I even have a pulse? If I'm going to be honest about it sometimes, I mean, compared to you guys, not compared to everybody else, but sometimes when I compare myself to other brothers, I got to look and say, dang, how am I doing any good at all? And the funny thing is, when I find myself doing any type of job or trying to find a way to do any type of job better, like what I'm doing right now, learning new technology at my new job in order to carry it out, and always having to make adjustments, and I can't even keep up with all the stuff. When I started to think I was sinking, it was two brothers that came and said, "No, Instructor Black, you just got here. You actually are doing well for someone that just got in." They were the ones that had to tell me that. So in addition to brothers doing better than others, when I'm trying and I ain't doing that well, it's been brothers that come and tell me, no, you actually ain't doing badly. And you know what? Then they extend a helping hand. And I'm not taking any credit away from the Caucasian cat from California that's offered me a helping hand in multiple occasions. He's done his best to be helpful. But before I took his help, I let him know in another context of another conversation my background, just in case he ain't trying to help no N-word. But yeah, it's been brothers that do that. So it's been brothers who have had to do more, just like what you see right now with Trustworthiness said, not just in interactions with women. You're right. In the West, yeah. What's good, Chaos Rain? How's everything, man? But you know, Trustworthiness, what I've seen is that professionally speaking, apparently this like this even in other places to a certain extent. Now here, the system does not back that stuff up. Once you can prove that somebody discriminated against you racially, it can be hard to prove. But once you can prove it, then you're going to get your due. Or if someone discriminates against you racially, you can turn around and discriminate against them. If you can't prove they did it, they can't prove you did it, you get even. So there is that difference between here and there where y'all are. But what I can say is that in addition to the States and to the West, you brothers have had to deal with over there having to do more to get less, even outside of women. Over here, outside of women, we've had to do more to get less at times. And yet brothers have the kindest hearts. And even some of the better ones here who would casually call us slaves, thinking it's okay, even they, I gotta admit, man, there are times when they will turn around and they will say, no, man, you know what? And they'll start singing the praises of black men. At times they will do that. Nana SW, man, thanks again. I mean that from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind. I mean it when I say thank you. I really appreciate that. You came through twice in the evening. God bless you. I swear between you and Cyrus Burke, man, I'm sorry. Wait, no, Ciro Burke. Sorry about that. Yeah, between you and Ciro Burke, and MLR, y'all really come through. Honestly, MLR is generally speaking, he's been the most frequent. You and Galen Knight tie for the second most frequent, I think. Second most. But Mr. Coleman and R. Campbell and Red Falls Black and S. Jock, not necessarily in that order, are also they're right behind y'all in terms of the frequency. But anyway, I really appreciate y'all doing that. I mean that. So what's happening is that, yeah, man, brothers, generally speaking, all throughout, seem to have the biggest hearts, even in spite of what they've had to deal with. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing it here. I'm seeing it over there stateside when I go to visit. When I go into other places, like when I go into the Emirates, I'm seeing that. My wife's sister's husband, my wife's brother-in-law. I call him a brother-in-law. He's a brother. He's from a Gulf country, citizen held. He's a police captain in that particular country. It's not Saudi. But when I go there, mind you, he makes the salary of a police captain, which is not a whole lot. And generally speaking, in other Gulf countries, things are a bit more expensive. So his place is nice, but that's, the government gave him that. But he's not raking in a lot of cash. That man is all generous and stuff. And at the times I got to stop and say, hold up, man, listen, let me do something for you, please. He was about to go broke last time being hospitable. I was like, look, I had to pull his wife off to the side, which I don't like to do, even though she's my sister-in-law. But I had to pull off to the side and say, look, listen, I appreciate them doing this, but they don't pay police here a whole lot. You know, they pay them in the middle. Is there a way that I can, like, you know, hook you up so you can hook him up and put it back into his account and he don't know who did it? Is that possible? That's that hospitality and that generosity. Now, Arabs in general are hospitable and generous. I'm going to tell you that about Arabs. That is true. They're known for hospitality. But a black Arab has the most. The absolute most. That's what I'm seeing here in Saudi. I'm seeing it over there in another country in the Gulf. Saw it in Oman when I visited. They got plenty of brothers in Muscat, by the way. Plenty of sisters too. I never forget that one that was eyeballing me, but I couldn't afford a second wife at that time. She was playing it slick too. She was really playing it slick. I don't know if the little kid was her. I think it was her younger brother. But she was whispering to him to get a little closer to me, I guess, so I could speak to him. Hey, how you doing, young man? I think that's what it was. And she knew I was a fluent English speaker. She was talking to a younger brother in English. I knew she was an Omani woman, a black Omani. I knew she was. But I'm telling you, you know, when I go to these places and I see how brothers are and they excel. With some opportunity, they excel. Matter of fact, you think about this here. When you look at the States, if you are poor and you can't you can't just blow a stack on gear, what do you still do? You still look clean at all times. Even if you are poor and broke, when they call you dusty, that don't make no sense because you're going to stay clean. At the very least, your clothes and your body are going to literally be clean. That's what I mean. If you can't rock name brand, you still ain't going out there just looking shabby. What I mean is that you handle poverty. And I'm not talking about living beyond your means and going in debt so you can still stunt. I don't mean that. I'm talking about there's a dignity that you were able to keep when you are poor, when you are broke. There's a dignity you're able to keep. I don't see that in others, man. I'm letting y'all know. I've seen poverty on many people, but when I see it on somebody else, you know they poor. They can't hide it. And to tell the truth, this is what a lot of you don't know. What's good, Mali Simumba? I like that name too, by the way. Yeah. You know what? I might have to steal that. If I find out what it means and it's got a meaning that's not offensive to you, if I were to take, I might have to steal that name, man. That's a cool, that sounds like one of them scared white man names. Yeah, you're going to meet your boss today? Oh, great. What's his name? Mali Simumba. You better be on point too. Can I reschedule the interview? Yeah, that's it sounds like one of them names. So yeah, I've seen this, and I'm gonna tell you all a secret about some other folks too, on the real. You know how y'all back stateside, I hate to say this, but you know how y'all back stateside, I can't include myself for this. Y'all back stateside tend to think that other groups have their stuff in order. Like you think that the Koreans and the Chinese are so together and that the Indian is so on point and the Arab knows how to have a community. You know how you tend to think that. Don't lie. Nobody but black folks is dysfunctional like that. You know how we be talking. Man, I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. A lot of times when you see someone that ain't one of us and they seem to have their stuff in order, bruh, a lot of Koreans and Chinese Americans are in debt. Now in Canada, I heard that the Chinese citizens that live in Canada actually do have bread. That's what I heard. But that's specifically the Chinese and they're living in Canada and more specifically Vancouver, and then they're branching out. They actually may have bread, but you looking in the States, man, Chinese, the Koreans, more increasingly so the Vietnamese. You look at them and you're like, oh, they got a little business and they driving this nice car. Man, shuck that fit. They're in debt. Up to their mother cuss word neck. It's usually the man that's got to go in all that debt, because if he can't keep up the image, she gonna bounce and leave him. Man, that family ain't necessarily together. Y'all be thinking, well, you know, this is a video going around now with this little kid who was of Eastern Asian origin, little kid, a toddler, is putting these blocks and grouping them by color. Man, I'm telling y'all, that video seems to be true. I'm not knocking the kid. But what I'm getting at is, and he may have had a lot of practice doing it, I'm sure he did. But the point I'm making is that we see stuff like that and we think, oh man, you know, they're so together, they're so smart, they're about as smart as the rest of us. And there's more to it. What you don't know is that a lot of times them kids get the snot beat out them when they're younger because their dads are dysfunctional. Stress the upfout. Mama ain't loyal, because they're really image conscious. A lot of y'all didn't know that, but yeah, they're real image conscious. That's why we get along better with Southeast Asians than East Asians. Southeast Asians and East Asians don't get along that well a lot of times because the East Asians are so image conscious, and the tropical Southeast Asians are more about substance. They have to be. And it's one of the reasons that the East Asians call the Southeast Asians jungle Asians, especially the Filipinos. But the Filipinos have the best English on the continent by default. That's the default. Tagalog and English are the default languages. And then after that, the other languages that they may have, like Ilocano, or I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Cebuano, Waraya, Waraya, Visayas, these other languages, they got those too. But moving around, it's Tagalog and English. Some things they only say in English, like have a nice weekend, things like that. I'm sure there's a Tagalog translation, but a lot of times what they say to each other is, hey, have a nice weekend, in English. But you're sitting up looking at them thinking they all together. Man, them kids getting their butt beat. I ain't talking about the Southeast Asians either. I'm talking about East. Dad goes home, he's stressed. He owes all this money. His creditors are calling him. He's never going to get enough bread to just pay them all back and actually be as successful as he's making everything look. He goes home, he's frustrated. If he beats his wife, she can say something and embarrass him, so he beats his kids because they can't say nothing. Yeah, when you ain't black and you let them talk, or they think you ain't, or they just think you're quiet. You let them talk, man. I tell you. I knew one Korean American at one of my jobs told me he and his dad, they talk, but he said he could never be as close to his dad as he is to his mom. He wasn't capable of it, because when he was a kid, he could be doing everything right. He go to sleep, and in the middle of his sleep, he just start feeling a belt hitting him through the bed blanket, because dad just coming home just whooping his behind. He don't even know why. And his dad was like, I don't have to explain myself. Well, I mean, goddamn, if you don't, then how's he going to know what he did wrong? If he did, oh, that's right. He ain't do nothing wrong. You just stressed out trying to keep up with the Joneses. Look like somebody need to chin check Mr. Chin. You ain't doing that for the most part, bro. You brothers ain't doing that. You don't. There are certain lines I don't see y'all cross that often. I'll be honest, man. When I do hear sometimes when I hear about that, you know what? I did hear a few months ago of a case where there was a dad that used to be like this. Used to be. He can't even remember what he did. One of his kids, that was one of his victims, straight up said, based on the way that he lost his memory, I know it was witchcraft. That's actually one of the ways that you can tell if somebody's a victim of witchcraft. Their thinking and their memory becomes disjointed. They'll do something and they don't remember doing it later. They'll do things out of character and they won't remember that they did them later on. Or they may think that they dreamt about it, but they actually did it. That's one of the ways that you'll know somebody's a victim. And yeah. So even then, guess who was doing it to him? The one time recently I heard of a man being like this, which was years ago. Guess who was doing that? Guess who was doing witchcraft to him? And I saw the evidence of it myself. The evidence of the witchcraft was that when I went to visit, and this was here in this country, when I went to visit, his wife asked about sitting in there with us. Now, when men are sitting together, women don't generally say, well, let me sit down on the couch with y'all and chop it up with y'all and chat. They don't generally do that. If it's their brothers or their dad and their uncles or something, that might be a little different even in this for a short time. But I was a stranger to her. She wouldn't do that with her stepson normally. I show up, she wants to do that. That's not a part of the culture. And to be fair, if the women are sitting in there, if the women have their women time together, a close relative of one of the women, it's a man, would not be like, let me sit down and chop it up with y'all. It wouldn't happen like that. So it goes both ways. So I knew something was odd. When I found out that that's what she was saying, I was like, oh my God, that don't make no damn sense. The F, man. She was trying to monitor. She herself didn't have all the faculties there because that's one of the other signs. So what I'm saying is that in the case where I did hear of a brother abroad being like that, there was evidence of the explanation that I got for it. Should he have acted the way he did? No, nobody would have excused it. But that's how rare it is. You gentlemen are actually known. You brothers are known across nationalities for having a certain type of chivalry. Not just extending to ladies, but extending to people in general. You're not the one that goes somewhere and you get on a train and walk into a restaurant in another country and you just start talking loud and picking a fight. That ain't something you're known to do. A few passport pookies might be doing that in the DR because it's easy to get to. But very rarely, and usually when brothers do want attention, what they do, throw money around. They walk around just shouting and trying to pick a fight. What's going on LXST, Infinity. So that's what I'm saying. I'm vaingloriously proud of you because I am actually witnessing the difference in mass collectively between your behavior and the behavior of others. And guess who's shining? Honestly, I've met people here, religious people here. And when I walk, meet people, observe, talk to folk, get to know them, what I've seen is that even some of the religious non-Black men here don't behave as well as the average brother. And I've been here 9 years. Now, they can recite certain things to you, tell you certain points of law and that sort of thing, and they can tell you how you can pick your friends, that type stuff. But when it comes to actually being fair and just, they don't hold a candle to the average brother. Worst habit I've seen a lot of brothers show out in public is smoking. Worst. I don't see Black men driving like they don't have no damn sense. No, it'd be the young non-Black teenagers doing that, driving crazy. Even at the university where I'm teaching, brothers are not that common. But there's a time of the day when when the percentage of black students goes up. There are 2 times a day, actually. You know what those times a day are? About 30 minutes before the morning classes start. Because they don't tend to show up late. They tend to show up early. And from what I heard, later on in the afternoon, because they'll be the last ones to leave. They'll stick around and study. They'll be the last ones to leave. I actually noticed one day when I was coming out of a meeting that was held in the library that I saw more brothers, percentage-wise, I saw more brothers in the library than I did walking outside and in between classes. So they were staying and studying. I'm witnessing this. Were we born this way? Just born to behave better? It doesn't matter. Nobody tells us we were. No one tells us that we're born morally superior to other people. We don't even think that way about ourselves. So what this tells me is that if we don't think that we were born to behave better, yet we are consistently doing such, then we're just simply making better choices. However, I do not believe that all behaviors are equal, even in the event that people are born equal by default, born equal, starting off equal. All behaviors are not equal. If you make a superior moral choice to somebody else, then at least in that context, you were superior to that other person. Now, overall, it's still hard to say. But it's almost as if we got together somewhere, and I know that we black men have not had a mass black male conference across all the nationalities and language groups and all that stuff. I know we haven't done it. I know we've not. We don't have a conspiracy to do this, but somewhere down the line, we came to understand that we were just going to take the high road in many cases. So I look at you coming from the Congo, coming from Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, Zambia, Mozambique, Mali, Senegal, Brazil, Colombia, Northern Africa as well, because they got brothers there. The Arabian Peninsula. The States. The Bahamas. And what I see is unless severe poverty and hunger and dysfunction surround you at a tender age, I see this excellent behavior across the board and consistently. Even if I can't say excellent, I can say I see this good behavior better than the men surrounding you. Now, when I do see bad behavior, which we all are bound to see at some point, I mean, hell, we know about the dysfunction in the community. But when I do see bad behavior in one of us, I see that, just like with sisters, they had to learn it. And it took a whole lot of bad stuff for that to be the case. I mean, if you even look at R. Kelly, whom I had to mention previously, we can't excuse what he did. And that right there, the fact that we won't excuse what he did shows you. But even he had to start off as a victim before he could become a monster. Someone had to do it to him again and again and again before he became a monster. He tried not to be one. But see, even for R. Kelly, remember his close friend? Or was his close friend? Y'all remember, y'all know what I'm talking about. Kirk Franklin. Did they not collaborate on some of the R&B gospel songs. I think I Believe I Can Fly was a collaboration, if I'm not mistaken. What did Kirk Franklin have to go through? I'm not endorsing Kirk Franklin's doctrine. I'm Muslim. He's Christian. We are not going to agree on religion. But did Kirk Franklin walk a morally deficient route? Did he choose to make his name in even of the pretend immoral context? Did he do that? Kirk Franklin hasn't even become an actor and played the role of a villain. Not even has he done that. So you understand? Kirk Franklin chose to make his name in what, as far as he can understand, is morality. Kirk Franklin was also a victim of dysfunction, and we all saw it. His biological mother wouldn't even say, yeah, that man is your daddy. And that man, he had known him. He had lived not too far from him, if I'm not mistaken. And what did the dad say when he realized this? Man, if I had known, my door is open to you. We're going to do this at your pace, at your schedule. But what did his dad do that was wrong in this case? Walaikum salam, Charles Urban. What's going on? What did his father do that was wrong? Only fornication. And I say only fornication, not to minimize it. You saw the effects of that right there. But I say only fornication because that's a human weakness for men and women alike, white and black and everything else. It's a human weakness. If you reach adulthood and you don't get married, then the chances of fornication go up. Who made that human weakness so damn expensive, though? Was it dad? Dad didn't know he was dad. Was it Kirk Franklin? He wasn't there to fornicate. He can't conceive himself. Who made it that expensive to where a father and son didn't get to know each other? Well, neither of them. And a lot of sisters, a lot of Western black women ain't gonna act like that. We don't know what the percentages are of the well-behaved ones and the hyenas. We're not sure what the percentages are. It doesn't matter because the hyenas are going to put the well-behaved ones, the fair-minded sisters, let alone the ones that support us, are going to put them in hiding, and they always do. As some of you even said before. Oh yeah, they go hard against black women that don't hate black men. Put them in hiding. Don't you be easy on that man. Girl, you fine as you beautiful. You better get that man a problem. I can't have you out there looking nice and behaving nice. How I'm going to compete with that? And my breath smell like feet. No. They go against them too. And what did his mom do? She cried to get out of accountability and could never say, you know what? If the DNA says that's your dad, that's your dad. She didn't even say, if he is your dad, I don't remember because I must have been asleep. She didn't even dare to say that. No. And you know what? Man, I ain't going to tell. I'm going to just go ahead and tell y'all something that I did read. I was scrolling through Facebook one day, and you get one of those ads that says, listen to these stories about things that people did. Listen to read these shocking confessions. Not listen, it was read these shocking confessions. So I clicked on it once. This is how you know it wasn't one of us. Dude sat up and said, I read a few of them, I hooked up with my best friend's wife before they got married, but they were engaged. Dumb stuff like that. One dude said, man, I was drunk one day, but my sister went out and got really plastered. She came home. She started rubbing on my leg. We hooked up right then and there. Worst mistake of my life. Next day, she didn't remember it, so I ain't say nothing. One day, years later, she and dad got in an argument. And he's let it slip that he never forgave her for aborting his grandchild when she was 19. And that's the year we hooked up. Long story short, the kid was mine, but I didn't know that she even had one. She aborted because she didn't know who the dad was. Stuff like that. You know that wasn't one of us. It wasn't something that we don't get down like that. How drunk we got to be to do something that dumb? When do we commit incest? We commit incest only when we did not know that we had the same dad. We meet later, get along real good, don't know that we brother and sister, and then hook up or marry. That's when we commit it. It's an accident. It's unknowing. You can't get us that damn drunk. And I'm not telling you go out there and drink because you can handle your liquor. I'm just saying that even when drunk, that's something we wouldn't do. And it's not just in the United States. It's not just in the Americas. That's across the board, man. That's what it takes. Not knowing. D said when we were forced to in captivity, well, then that would have taken force and a gun to our heads. And to be honest with you, if someone put you in somebody put you in a cabin with your relative and said, listen, y'all get busy, and they don't follow you into the cabin, are y'all gonna actually pull that off? Or are you just gonna, knock a little furniture back and forth, and make them think that y'all did it since they ain't looking nowhere? Which one you gonna do? In order to get us to do that, they got to walk in there with the weapon and point it at us and say, get to it. And of course, once that happens, you're not going to be right in the head at that point anyway. To be honest with you, LOM, I never heard about that. I mean, I heard about Target. I remember Target, but I never heard about that. They must have come out with that after I left, and I never saw it when I went back to visit. Must be. But yeah, to be honest with you, I was going to tell y'all that when I look abroad, I actually see, when I do see how sisters are behaving in general, not in the West, but in general, I don't see them a whole lot. But when I do, I pretty much see good behavior from them too. Worst I tend to see in sisters abroad is a little bit of an inferiority complex. I mean, they got some sisters out here, Saudi, they want a white dude. They want to try to breed the black out of them. But that hardly ever happens. I done told you how these non-black men feel. If they don't hate, non-black men that don't hate black women still don't want the phenotype. It doesn't matter the nationality. They're like, too much black. No, we're not doing that. These men here don't even want to marry women from Sri Lanka. They don't complain about the money that she don't have. They know that's not a job. They're like, no, it's too much black, doc. Too much black. All right. More for us. No, they don't like, they don't want their women to be dark skinned, even when they think she's beautiful. There's this guy named Khalid Amri. He's an Emirati living in Dubai. I think his dad is Emirati and his mom was British, so he's kind of pale. His wife, Salama, she's not a black woman, but she's dark for their people. And here's the thing. There are some of his people that think he's a beta male because he married her. There are others that think he married her because he's just one of those nice guys. And they don't look down on you for being nice here. That's not it. But they just start guessing, like, I mean, they're looking at him like, okay, he's that complexion and he's famous. Why'd he marry her? I know why. But they're looking like, why? I mean, he could have married someone who looks just like her, just as cute, but light skinned. We're never going to agree on that. But what I'm saying is for them, it's the melanin. Then you add the lips and nose and the hair texture on top of that. They're like, oh, God, no. They don't only look at these ladies and think only brothers should marry them. They look at these ladies and think only ugly or poor brothers should marry them. Sisters, I mean. They don't even think brothers with money should be marrying them. Do I agree with them? Hell no. It's not based on nationality and attitude and all that. It's based on race. But the point I'm making is that the worst I see here is that some sisters want to try to, breed out if they can, and they can't. But I don't really hear much. I don't hear about them just going all out and just disrespecting brothers out here. They might try to run a little interference and stop some of the non-black women from getting brothers. They might do that. But I don't hear about them just being all out ill-behaved. I don't hear about that. Matter of fact, in my classes when I was teaching both, when I was teaching both men and women in my classes, I even saw that generally speaking, and I'm not talking black nationalism, but what I saw was that generally speaking, the more melanin they had, the better behaved they were. That's what I saw. Now, there were other factors too, like, the bigger they were. There was that too, generally. Rather, they were, regardless of the shade. But I saw it, generally speaking, the more melanin count they had, the better behaved they were. So even if they were not black, but just abundantly melanated, they were well behaved. Generally better. I picked up on that early on. I wondered if I was seeing things. The other thing too is they almost never took off the hijab. I only know one that did. Only one. She was still well behaved, but she didn't cover properly. She was very intelligent and a very good student, and she was respectful towards everybody. I did see that. So even she didn't have that behavioral issue. Every time I saw one that actually had a behavioral issue, they didn't have a high melanin count across the board. So I know that this can extend to both genders. It's possible. But what I see is that consistently, bro, I see this in you. Across the board, from top to bottom, across nationalities. I'm seeing this in you, except in cases of extreme poverty and desperation and dysfunction forming the environment in one's formative years. Outside of that, and even then, when I see someone come from that, I see a type of regret in them from time to time. It's like they get past the teenage years, and then there's a regret that eventually sets in. That's what I see. There's more to it. See, we have cats that, even when you take guys that are against the black manosphere, even in their case, do they start off, do they come with an immoral intention when they're talking about saving the community? Look at even those guys. Even the CYCBM cats. Are they coming from an immoral intention? They're willing to overlook immorality in the sisters, but are they coming with an immoral intention themselves? Even they ain't. They think they're doing something noble, saving the community. And I admit the intention is. Even them. What are they trying to do? They're trying to be saviors. They're trying to be heroes. And they know they're not going to get credit for it. This is you. That's what you represent. And I'm not the only one that sees this. And this is what it is that others who are not biased and others who are fair-minded have been forced to admit. Even some of those here who would casually call you slave, forgetting that the word slave means slave and not black, even they would have to admit, if they think about it, that your behavior is just generally speaking better. The trust they have here in us is something else. I'm going to be honest with you. Y'all want to know the truth. There aren't many bodyguards here in the kingdom. If there's a bodyguard, they usually for celebrities and the royal family. And so a bodyguard you can hire, it's not very common. I wouldn't even know where to look for them. I do know that generally speaking, the bodyguards are either police officers, soldiers who could be anybody, or if they're not police and soldiers, they're going to be brothers. There's that trust factor here. When it comes to trust, they look to us. And even within the military, even there, it's military police. They look to some brothers for that. They can see it here. If they don't want to marry us, which is fine, they still have to admit that there's certain things they see in us. They don't associate us with bad character in general, except sometimes they associate us with fornication. So they understand that if you remove the poverty and dysfunction from us, they understand that if you remove these things from us, what's coming next? A lot of them feel like they cannot compete. There are times we look at them and say, well, look, what we can do, you obviously can do. They're looking and saying, no, we can't do what you can do. I believe that others, if they train at our feet for a particular skill that one of us has, they can do just as well. I actually think this as well. But they don't. When they're sitting up and they're calling my man, Mr. Hausawi, on his day off, on his weekends off, because they're not sure what to do. I believe that if they let him teach them, they can learn the job as well as he knows it. They don't believe that they can. And they carry our blood. I'm here. I'm looking them in the face. I can see our blood in them. They may not know it themselves, but I can see it in them. Well, let me check, see this Cash App right quick. It's late here, so my Cash App's not going to make the same notification sound. I want to make sure, because if anybody did, I don't want to ignore them. But yeah, they know that we don't generally actually half-ass, except when we're working for each other. Now, that might be the case. When we're working for each other, we might. But they understand that in general, we don't go in halfway doing stuff unless we're halfway paid. You know who the people here say are the most trustworthy? No joke. I'm not exaggerating this. I thought the first time I heard it, they were saying it in front of me because they knew I was black. That's what I thought. Guess who they trust the most here, who they say are examples of trustworthiness? Sudanese. They don't say, well, you can trust the Egyptian, but the Sudanese will steal because he's hungry and he's poor. And they don't say that. No. The Egyptian might say that. But what they say here is you can't trust the Egyptian, but you can trust the Sudanese. That's what they say. They don't even say, if you want to hire an Egyptian because of his skill, then what you need to do is get a Sudanese to supervise him. And the Sudanese actually will, generally speaking, try to avoid a job where they have to be a supervisor over an Egyptian. What's the reason? Even though Sudan and Egypt used to be one country under British colonization, the Sudanese will look at the Egyptian and they will say, if I have to supervise him, he's going to lie. He's not going to tell the truth to the owner of the company or any Saudi boss. He's going to start lying on me the moment I start that job. So if I don't have to take it, I won't take it. They don't trust Egyptians here without overlooking their shoulders. They'll trust a Southern Egyptian who's black because they'll forget that he's not Sudanese. That's who. But they don't trust your Northern Egyptian from Cairo and Alexandria. And it's kind of sad because I've met Egyptians that were trustworthy and they had to deal with a bad reputation. They weren't trusted by Saudis that didn't know them. But on the flip side, the Egyptians that knew them didn't trust them because they were honest. And you know, the corrupt don't trust the honest to fuck the shuck up and keep the secret. It's just like the hyenas don't trust the pygmies to fuck the shuck up and keep the secret because the pygmies are telling them what's going on. They're coming out and they're saying, look, we're running game. Even if I'm not doing it, the others are running game on you. Or Kathy came out and said, look, most of them either don't like or they hate you. And I can't imagine you being a black man wanting to buck these fitches. That's what our Kathy said years ago. I never forget. I heard it again just a few weeks ago. I forgot on whose channel I heard it. But I'm over here and I'm watching you. Watching us. I just can't count myself in that number because I'm not necessarily an expert in what I'm doing. I'm an effective teacher, but I can't say that I'm as good as the other brothers. We got South Africans over here that are teaching. And the students, bruh, when it comes to learning English, the students are like, you know what, man? Yeah, we want them. I'm talking black South Africans. That's what they're looking for to come in and teach English if they can get them. They generally do like having black American teachers too. They like that. They feel like we're related. And when it comes to certain cultural things, good and bad, we are. But we're actually going to do the job better than one of them would. Oh, yeah. My man, Mr. Hausawi, is learning. He already knew English when I met him. He makes the effort to learn more and get better and not repeat the same mistakes. He makes that effort. I got students that won't do that. I got a pair of twins. Are they part black? You and I would look at them and say, oh, hell yeah. Would they ever call themselves that? No. They wouldn't do that. And I could get it. I wouldn't claim them. I feel about them the way that a lot of black African Hajis felt about me back in 2022 when I performed Hajj. They didn't trust me. The English speakers did, but the other ones, the Portuguese and French speakers, they did not trust me. They were suspicious. I feel this way kind of about them. Very good English speakers, but you know what? They always got excuses. I'm not joking. They always excuses. Them boys, they came in on the day of the exam. Now, they both wear glasses. They came in on the day of an exam without their glasses so that they could give me an excuse for why they were misspelling everything. They were like, we have to see the keyboard. We got to squint to see it. I realized, wait a minute. You came in without your glasses. Why? Well, you know, the optometrists asked for our glasses so they could use the existing glasses to make a different lens. And I said, so you couldn't tell them to wait until you finished your exam. You want to tell me to go easy on you because you were dumb enough to give them your glasses the day of the exam. No, dummy, I'm not going easy on you. You know what? The next time they had to write for an exam and write an essay, they misspelled everything. I pulled them off to the side. So what the hell is wrong with y'all? You speak fine. Why the hell did you write that badly? Damn near gave me a stroke when I had to grade your writing. We were in a moving car at the time. Oh my God. What's it going to be next time? Today they had to do presentations, right? They had to have a slideshow. These two, mind you, I told you that I can see our blood in them. They're too dark to say they don't have any black blood. But the hair's straight. So they probably don't know, or they're hiding that they have it. One of the two. So from merely not identifying as us, What do? They act just like anybody else, like the stereotypical Bedouin, except they speak English very well and they have education, or they've been exposed, I should say. They've actually been to the US multiple times because of their father's job. But I know this. One thing I know is that if they merely thought that they were us or knew that they were partially us, they wouldn't act as idiotic as they do. Always got an excuse. And when they had to do their presentations today, guess what I saw on the slides? Made by Gamma. Gamma is AI, artificial intelligence, that you can use to generate a slideshow. Now, I didn't give them a 0 for it, but them little ninjas lost a lot of points. In my years of teaching, I've only had one black student not make an effort to do well. Only one in 9 years. I've only had one. I've never had one of them pull me off to the side and say, listen, I'm not going to be able to come to class on Sundays and Thursdays ever, any week ever. Can you mark me present even though I'm not going to be here? I've never had one of them ask me some dumb stuff like that. I've had one wouldn't study, wouldn't learn, and he would show up like, can you grade my test easy? The first time I told him, listen, I'm going to go harder on you because I'm not going to have anybody looking at you and me and saying that you didn't deserve the mark you got just because your teacher's also black. That's when he did a double take, looked to me, looked at my nose and lips, and he was like, oh, okay, Khalas. He let that go. I had one other. He didn't ask me nothing dumb, but I had one other. This is when I was in Riyadh for the little bit under a year ago, this time of year, about December of 2022. No, I'm sorry. It was about the end of January 2022. I had one black student. Family name is Muwallad. If you meet a Saudi with the last name Muwallad, it's probably a black Saudi. But this cat, he thought he was going to act like the non-black Bedouins. He didn't ask me to do nothing stupid, but he wouldn't make any effort. He'd look at me, and then later he tried to tell me, listen, he tried to pull me off to the side. I'm scared to read out in public. I was like, oh, you are? I'm going to make you do it every day. Your parents pay money for you to come here. I'm not wasting their money. You're not going to tell me you scared, so you just blow their money. Matter of fact, the class is over. Who's coming to pick you up, dad or your brother? My brother. Great, I'm going to talk to him. No, you can't talk to my brother because my mom's in the car. That's what he said. He tried to pull that white Bedouin stuff because we don't normally do dumb stuff like that. That's something not only the non-blacks do, but specifically the uneducated Bedouins among them. They always hide behind their women. They don't like it when you phrase it that way, but they always hide behind their women. Always. I have to answer this phone call because it's my mom. Hey, let me answer that phone and say that I stole the phone because the class was going on. You can't talk to my mom. She ain't got to talk back. But you answer that phone, you absent. Go answer the damn phone during my class and turn the ringer off. I got to act like this with them. I don't generally have to do that with us. In 9 years, I had one try to pull that stuff. One of us try to pull that. One. And he was trying to act like them in the first place. And I had to tell him. Listen, kid, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I mean, I know you were born here and grew up here, and I only got here 9 years ago. But I was an adult when you were still a kid, and I'm going to tell you something. Don't try to act like the white folk. They're not going to give you the same things for the same effort. They may not hate you. It's not like the USA. I get it. But I'm letting you know now. You try to act like them and do the dumb stuff they do, and they're going to laugh at you behind your back. And then they ain't going to trust you because they're going to say, why is he doing this? Here? All right. Legitimate question. Onceler. Legitimate question. I don't expect them to tell me what the reason is, man. Honestly, I want to know. I agree with you about the seriousness of the inquiry. I agree with you. But I don't. If I would ask them that question, I wouldn't expect them to tell me. Funny thing is, when I've entered into conversations like this, a lot of times we get interrupted. But I want to ask Mr. Hassawi this exact question the next time. But I suspect it's this. You see, what Front Toward Enemy said, I think that that's going to be the case. There was a student of mine who also had the family name Hausawi. And he joked one time and said something about going easy on him because he was my only black student in that class. But I told him, no, bro, you're a smart student. That's why you don't need me to go hard or easy. I'm going to go fair. I told him that. But I had to tell him, I had to say to him, you know, man, when he read a poem one day, for his class, one of my assignments was that they had to read a poem. It could be a rap or a poem. Music or not, I didn't care, but it needed to be in English. It needed to make sense. It needed to rhyme. And from the symbolism in his poem, I realized he was talking about racism. So I asked him about it after class. I pulled him off to the side. I said, hey, man, tell me something about this. And he told me that when he was living in a northern city where the Bedouins live, a city called Tabuk. Tabuk is developed and has an international airport. It's on the border with Jordan, but it's in the north and it's Bedouin. And his dad got transferred there. So he was a teenager around that time, about middle school, early high school. And he said that whenever they all went drifting, you know, skidding around in the cars, which used to be a pastime back then. He said whenever that happened, they would get caught, get arrested, and he'd be the last one to get out of jail. Let me tell you what's up about that. The boys with whom he would get arrested were they were not black. And oftentimes their families were from Tabuk, but they were still police officers in Tabuk. His dad was with the police, but not from Tabuk. They were from the Hijaz region, Mecca, Medina, where a lot of black folks settled. Free black people settled. They were never owned. There are those who were owned, but then there were also a lot of, in the Hijaz, a lot of the black folks you see were free. Some of them even owned some people and then would free them. He's a descendant of them. They went in free to the Hijaz to escape the colonization of the British. Some of them went in even before that, centuries ago. Some of them went in during the slave trade, which was before colonization, because they knew that people were disappearing and vanishing, but they weren't. It took a while for them to be sure what it was. I asked him, did you hear about how back in Hausaland, there was a time when people were just disappearing and vanishing? He said, yeah, we all heard about that. And I told him, that's where I come from. My ancestors were those that vanished. They got kidnapped, taken to the Americas. That's how we got there. He was like, so you mean we're related? And I said, you're more than likely, yeah. And he was glad to meet me. That's when we first met. But during this time, he told me about it. Okay, so they dads or uncles were cops. His dad was a cop, but he's the last one who can get out on the hookup. Last one, routinely. So I suspect that that's what it was. I suspect that. So his dad shows up to get him out. They want to keep him for a little while. Well, no, your son was drifting. But his boys that might have actually been driving the cars and drifting, they out before he is. He said that eventually it got better as he met more people and made more friends. Over time, it did get better. But he also said that one of the things that made it better was that he became a good soccer player. So again, the athletic talent, which he does not have now, he's too big, but the athletic talent was what um, was what gave him some popularity, him and some other brothers. So I suspect that, yeah, it's that we've been held to a higher standard. But I also suspect that, frankly, even if we're held to a fair standard, I think that one of the things is we're just simply, even if you take away being held to an extra standard, just a fair standard, we're just not spoiled. I think that's what it is. Here where I live, because once this question is about here, a lot of people are spoiled, but yeah, a lot of people are spoiled here. Many, I admit that, and I just don't see us being equally spoiled. Some of us out here try, be trying to act like that. No, no. If one of us tries to act like them, then it starts to look funny. I mean, they'll laugh. White folk here or non-blacks wouldn't necessarily laugh at a black man that doesn't try so hard to act like the Bedouins, the non-black Bedouins. They may not laugh too hard at them, but you one of us, and you really trying to act like one of them, talk like a backwards Bedouin. Yeah, they might laugh at that behind your back. They might. I'm telling you, man, even when you take religious ones, there's no comparison. It's just a contrast. Only. Like I said, worst habit I've seen us have here, for the most part, out publicly at least, worst habit I've seen us have has been smoking. I done seen some bad habits in others, cheating on tests, hypocrisy because they'll cheat, then they'll turn and preach a sermon, stuff like that. The drifting, the smoking, you add all that together, the laziness, still demanding to get the results that you didn't earn. But you know what, man? I don't see us doing worse than smoking for the most part. And if and when any of us do fornicate, well, of course, that's not public, that's private. Like I said, that's a human weakness across adulthood. So when that does happen, we wouldn't know about it. We don't expect to get away with that either. Now, I will tell y'all something I saw. A brother from Scandinavia, Muslim, and he's black, but whose dad is actually Scandinavian, sent something to us. And it was one of the Bedouins out here in some village in daylight. In the video, it was a video from somebody's house. There was a donkey just walking around outside on the street next to the house where the camera was. Now, this is in a village, so when I call this guy Bedouin, it's because of that. He came up in his little pickup truck, got out, lifted his stove up, pulled his trousers down a little bit, got that with the donkey. Didn't take long either, so he must have been saving that up. Jumped in, his pickup truck pulled off. Donkey seemed to used to it. He didn't protest, kick, nothing. Yeah, this is on camera. Dude did that. Here's the messed up thing. I know, Onceler. It's too late now. I done already told y'all. Now, this dude did this on camera. If the police see it and they can identify his face, he's going to go to prison and he may be executed. The video was not that sharp, so I don't know if they got his tag number, if they can identify the guy. I'm not really sure. One brother I know who he went to jail for something. He went to jail because of something somebody else did, but they were rounding people up. So he was going to get out anyway. But while he was in captivity, he did meet one of us that was in there for getting at with his stepmom. And well, if it's your parent's spouse, you probably, that's like doing that with your own family. So I don't know what the punishment is for, but I'm sure it's severe. It's not like just regular run-of-the-mill fornication. Your dad's wife. Yeah. Matter of fact, Pops might be the one that gets to decide what happens to you. But he was in jail for that. He ain't get away with that. There was another cat in there, one of us. He was in there for getting that with some livestock. The guy in the video was not one of us. Cat in jail long time ago was. Well, you see, again, we don't expect to get away with stuff like that. When I see where, on a rare occasion, I see where brother gets in trouble and it's something they did, they don't think they're going to get away with it. I've sat up and watched where it ain't one of us. They get in trouble for something they actually did, and they act like, God damn, who are you to punish me for it? And by the way, I didn't do it. And they don't let up. They're like they're used to wearing you down until they can get their way. Brothers don't seem to be used to that. So I suspect that it's really something in the culture. I suspect that even here, we raise each other differently. Like, no, bro, you screwed that up. You're going to take the consequence. You ain't getting out of this. Make better decisions. And they, on the other hand, although they're raised similar to us, and Arabs in general, mom and dad are quick to take off something and go across a kid's butt. But after they get that, I think that when it comes to the non-blacks, after the child gets that ass whooping, dad's going to try to get him out of trouble otherwise. I think that's where that happens. And when it comes to stuff like cheating on a test, man, in a big city it's different, but you get into these villages, man, dad'll show up. Why is he in trouble? You mean like, the hell you mean, why is he in trouble? We wrote in the report why he's in trouble. Why are you here? Are you here to spank him in front of us? That'll be like, so he helped his friend on the test. That's what friends are supposed to do. Before the test, not during the test. That's cheating. I don't hear about black dads doing dumb stuff like that. It is another thing. Brother at my job right now, brother I'm working with, and salam alaikum, Bir Mahamud. This brother's from the UK like you. Jamaican Muslim brother from the UK I'm working with. He can understand Arabic even better than I can because he was here as a child. And I asked him, what is the worst stuff you've heard them talking about? I said to him, since you can understand them and they don't know you can, when they get to talking casually and, they just brag about doing stuff, what's the worst you've heard them confessing to? And he told me, man, he told me that, excuse me, Bir Muhammad, I'm going to make a joke about the British accent, if you don't mind. He told me in a British accent, yo, bruv, you'd be surprised. They confessed to proper blowing out some dude's back here. I looked and I said, you gotta be kidding me. And then he switched to Patois and he said, boy, I wish we could have joked like that. And I asked him, you ever hear one of us, but Saudi, make a confession like that? He said, I don't even hear one of us joking about that. No confessions, not even joking, like, no, that's not cool. Now, he didn't say nobody from amongst our lineage ever does it. He said he doesn't hear them joking about it and confessing, whereas when you're dealing with them utterance, if they're comfortable with their friends and they don't know that, they don't think anybody else can hear them, than they would. Most people here ain't doing it, but everybody knows about it. So yeah, most people here ain't into that. Most don't think it's okay. But amongst them, the idea that they do have is that the one that's pitching is still a man, but the one that's catching is not. He's the B word. Like it's like on some prison mentality. But in actuality, some of you guys might have heard Big Herc. He's got the prison stories, right? Big Herc was like he's got a YouTube channel. I forgot the name of it, but his name he goes by is Big Herc. He was in the joint for a while. He'd been in state fed everything, but he said that when you in the joint, if you get to busting cheeks, you can't say, well, you still a man because you pitching. He pretty much said the gangs in there are not going to let you call shots once you do that, because it means you don't govern your appetites. So you can't make decisions. When he told me that, I said, oh, so that's not what you hear. That ain't what the rumor is, but here, that's how they view it. Now, how do most of us view it? Oh, hell no. It's nasty all around. We don't do that. No, man, shuck that fit. That seems to be the case even here. Like I said, I do think that human beings are born with the same nature. That's what I think is the case. But the issue is, for whatever the reason is, we're not raising, habitually speaking, we're not raising our kids to think that they can just do what everyone else does and you're going to get away with it. Because see, even here where the system does try to be equal, I give credit where it's due. Here, generally speaking, the system does try to be equal. Even here, we seem to not believe that you're going to do some dumb stuff, get away with it in this life, and then you die in the grave and you ain't got to pay because you got away with it in this world. We don't seem to think like that. Like we seem to think, no, if you did wrong and you didn't pay for it in this life, then either you had to ask for forgiveness and really repent, or you just, or you're going to be punished more because you didn't get punished for it while you were alive. We seem to think like that here and over there. That's what seems to be the case. And mind you, what's going on here, like I said, most people ain't doing no sick stuff like that. But everybody hears about it. So when you're growing up, chances are you're going to have to run from somebody that's going to try to do that to you. If you would do, chances are you're going to have to run from someone that's going to try that. It ain't that everybody's going to try you. It's more like the one that's going to try you, he probably done tried a bunch of other people as well. It's the same few, but you know, they're going to catch who they can catch. And if they do, generally speaking, they'd much rather grab a dude up because they know the dude ain't going to tell. Or they think so. Man, you know, they grab a lady up, it's going to be a scandal. She's going to tell. He in trouble, especially if there's evidence. Sometimes some dudes do that. And they really get in trouble then, because generally speaking, you hear that, you know, women won't say nothing. No, over here, if she's really a victim, she's going with the evidence to get this dude off the streets. That's really how it goes down here. It's a dude that might hide it if he's a victim. But they don't be trying that with us for the most part. It was someone else that told me. So someone else that told me that even when they try that stuff, they do not try that with young black students. That's what they said. Something about us across the board. So even to open this up to talk about Leslie's lessons to the lame lost lasses, I had to tell y'all, spend more time telling y'all that, frankly, you know what? On the real, no. I have reason when I look at the behaviors to be vaingloriously proud of you. So when I said in the beginning what the solution was for our people, one of the reasons I said that was because the behaviors that are required are not alien and foreign to us. The character that is required is already not alien and foreign to us. We're stereotyped as, especially in our teens, we're stereotyped as being unable to govern our behaviors up to standard. And a lot of us only act a damn fool in our teens because we believe the stereotype. I'm young, I'm black, I'm a male, I'm not supposed to really be on point like that. I'm not really supposed to be sharp. A lot of us think like, a lot of us fall victim to that. Tupac did. Look what it got him. And even he had a soft spot for kids and trying to make things better for kids. But also look what it took for him to fall victim to that and stay victim to that. He had to be denied his dad. Even then. But one of the reasons why I said what the solution is because in actuality, when these things are removed, what do? When you remove these things, how are we behaving? We already got the behaviors. But if you don't believe that, if you don't believe that that's objectively the right way to behave, because that's the correct religion in the eyes of God, then someone can come along and take it away from you. You see, the solution that I gave you pretty much means that you have to listen to two parties. It pretty much means that you have to listen to the two parties that could possibly be more important to you than mama. That's what the solution means that I gave you. Who are they? One, who deserves more obedience from you than mom? I didn't say more love. That would be dad. Who deserves more obedience from you than dad and mom? That would be your creator, their creator, the owner of all. That's why I said that the solution was a solution that I told you. Now, when the NOI with the bean pies and the bow ties was sitting up and saying, you know what, it's in your nature, black man, to be righteous. Look, it's in your nature to be human. It's in your nature to be lazy, but also selfish. But outside of that, it is in your nature to be righteous. I think, like I said, I think that's been in human nature. But who needs a solution at this point? Who's the one that we're looking at that really needs that? You see, when I said that we excel, the truth be told, we actually excel in that too. And that is something that others have had to admit. Even when they've been biased, that's something to which they've had to admit. I've heard them when they've had to admit this. To give an example, I was telling you all about my students in Riyadh when I was teaching both men and women alike. And even amongst the Saudis, the Saudi black women generally did have pretty good behaviors. The one woman I knew that got her a boyfriend, she wasn't nowhere near sister, as far as we could make out, as far as you could tell by looking. And the boyfriend wasn't nowhere near brother, not at all. And I saw where, when I was new at the job, I actually remember seeing a Saudi cat. He was surrounded by a bunch of ladies one day when I saw them. They were laughing and giggling. He was being polite. He was talking back to them. He was being polite. But they were laughing and giggling, keeping it going. He stopped me later on, chatted me up, asked where I was from originally. And I said, well, if you mean where I was born, that was the States. You mean originally before that? He said, yeah. And I said, originally West Africa. We got to chopping it up. He turned out he was a Hausawi too. You see what I'm saying? So he was also he was a hit with the ladies. But his behavior wasn't the problem. You see what I'm saying? But one of the things I picked up on was that the Hausawi were the ones who memorized the most of the Quran on average. Not every last one of them, but on average, they had memorized the most. I had to give him credit where, not him, I had to give them credit where it was due, both the women and the men. There was one lady, Hausawi. She spoke fluent Hausa and Arabic. Her English was jack the up. I had to chew out about that because you weren't supposed to be in the program if you couldn't say anything in English. You weren't supposed to be there. She didn't cheat to get there. They just didn't tell her what the deal was. But I told the students, if you can't say it in English, don't even ask me about your attendance. I don't want to hear it. I'll record the attendance. So if you're here, you're here. But don't ask me about it later. She stopped me in the hallway and asked me in Arabic about attendance, and I jumped down her throat about it. I said, don't you ever do that again. You heard me when I told y'all not to do that. I didn't understand you. That ain't my fault. I'm supposed to say it in English. This is not a beginner's English class. Had to jump on about that. But see, in her defense, she didn't know what I said. And I even said to her, look, don't get the impression that you're going to get away with the same stuff that they get away with. I'll be fair, but you know the administration ain't going to necessarily be fair across the board. But later on, in another conversation, I found out that she had memorized most of the Quran. A lot of Saudis ain't done that. I can't sit up and tell you that they have. It is part of the Hausa culture, though. And they still are doing that now. They some of the main ones that memorize it, both in Nigeria, and they also live in Sudan. A lot of people don't know this, but the Hausa live in Ghana and Mali and Niger and in Sudan and Chad, and then in the Hijaz region here. It's in their culture to memorize a lot of it, if not all. And by the way, a lot of you might be interested to know that they trace themselves back to Aaron, Harun, Moses' brother, alayhum salam. Yeah. So in any case, I had to be honest. I'm like, you know what? I can't sit up here and tell you that what the Saudis believe is not going to do us no good. I can't sit up and say that. No, what the Saudis say they believe has worked well for us naturally. It's fit like a hand in a glove. It has fit us better than it has fit them because they're not willing to make any adjustments to go. They're not willing to actually go against their culture to follow the rules, whereas we've built our culture around the rules. You have to go into a real dysfunctional environment of ours with a lost value system in order to find us really wild in the ukfout. And even then, when that happens, like I said, it's poverty. So you might see us doing things to make money, get out of poverty, like taking bribes or begging. And if it really gets bad, maybe some violent crimes to make it, like in the Americas. Whereas on the home continent, not so much violent crimes, but begging and scamming and bribery to try to get ahead. And even in on the home continent, usually we ain't trying to hurt nobody. If we can avoid that, we'll avoid it. You'll see that even then. Even the funny thing is that when you look at the way that wars were fought on the home continent, The violence of the genocide in Rwanda was shocking to a lot of us. But this is what a lot of people don't know and they don't tell you. Wars had been fought before, coups had been fought on the continent before and after colonization. But they didn't actually become very brutal and as bloody and as savage as they did until the Liberian Civil War. That was the first time somebody was tortured on camera. It was the first time. That was I'm trying to remember if that was the early 80s or the late 80s when that happened. But when that happened, that was actually a breaking point, a turning point and breaking point in terms of the brutality with which wars would be fought on the continent after that point. That was when they started going after limbs and civilians and just in general, just trying to show you all how bad they were and implementing means of torture, even for people that were not involved in any military. Just, you know what, you didn't evacuate this place soon enough, so we got you. So we're going to torture you now. And then it spread into Sierra Leone. When the televised videos, when the videos were first televised of the violence in Liberia, the rest of the continent was shocked, like, what the hell, man? You know what they thought? They thought that the Liberian soldiers involved in that coup learned the violence from the United States. That's what they thought. Nobody on the continent thought that that type of violence came from the continent itself. Later, started to be associated with the continent, that type of violence. And the Rwandan genocide only made that idea worse. But no, you know, this idea that dysfunction is inherent in us because we're who we are and because we're Black, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. First person I heard say something that dumb, it wasn't a mature woman and it wasn't no brother. It wasn't even a hyena, to be honest with you. I don't remember exactly who she was, but I remember that she was a brainwashed sister. She just, first one I heard say something that dumb, but truth be told, she wasn't the last. And I remember the names of the other ones I started hearing saying this stuff. Saying dumb stuff like, we're not supposed to like to read. Oh, we're not supposed to be careful. Or, you know, we don't wait to see how somebody act before we get with them. What dudes I first heard saying that? They weren't even hateful sisters that were saying this at that point. I heard this in the late 80s, mostly early 90s, when I first started hearing that. But yeah, you know, I've tied y'all up for almost 3 hours now. And I didn't mean to do that. Man, it's late here. It's about to be 11 p.m. over here, so I'm really late. But yeah, I wanted y'all to understand that in addition to the lessons and the things that we've seen from Leslie, I wanted y'all to realize, gentlemen, that I'm not the only one that sees what I'm talking about here. I'm the one that's willing to say it right now. And I'm willing to say this without all of the no-step, slow step, pseudoscience, you know, Black man could fly 4,000 years ago. I'm willing to actually say this objectively. Throw out all the hocus pocus. Get rid of that stuff. You know, let's get rid of that. I'm willing to tell you what I see right here, right now. I understand why there are now some brothers that want to gatekeep Blackness. I get it. The world's beginning to see exactly. The world's probably Maybe they've seen this for a long time when I'm now seeing across national boundaries. When I see exceptions, as I've stated, when I see them, they come with either serious poverty, dysfunctional environment which the men didn't create and foster, or on occasion, it comes with not self-identifying as Black, whether intentionally or unintentionally, just not knowing. Whatever the case is, it's usually one of those two. Those are when I see exceptions. I simply hope that as we get passports and travel more, that we start to observe the same thing in each other, and we promote this in each other. But we cannot let anybody come along and take these distinctions and turn them into divisions, because this is one of the things we tend to have in common. And like I said, it's obvious. The Sudanese here are trusted. Not the Egyptians, the Sudanese are trusted. Everybody talks about how honest they are, how trustworthy they are. There was never any looting in Sudan until starvation became a real threat, a little under a year ago. And even then, some clerics from here were trying to say, look at the looting and look how bad they are. And granted, if that's all you're doing, then yeah, but starvation was a real issue there. That's what it took for looting to happen in the capital city. I was tutoring somebody towards the end of the summer. He was American and Sudanese. He was both. He told me that his grandmom's house had been looted, but they didn't take furniture. They only took the food. That's it. They didn't hate his grandmother. They weren't trying to be savage. They were just hungry. So they looted the food and left everything else. And I'm telling you, the clerics from here that were condemning a 25-second video of some looting, those clerics would not have done any better. Those clerics probably cheated when they were being educated and when they were studying. That's real. Those clerics probably think that God put it in human nature to prefer to marry white over Black. Like it's a universal human instinct. They think that God put that in people universally. And they're clerics. I'm not saying it's to trash my religion. I'm saying it's to tell you that they don't know their own. We do. They don't fully understand morality. And I'm not saying they're completely immoral, certainly not intentionally, but I'm telling you, they don't even understand at a base level morality the same way that we seem to, just instinctively. If they thought about it, I'm sure they would, but they don't think about it. They're not willing to think analytically in many cases. That's the problem. But everyone here knows you want somebody that you can trust with your money. Everybody here knows that's the guy from Sudan. It's to the point now that, you know what, they're not looking to hire American healthcare workers like they used to, doctors and nurses. They ain't recruiting in the States no more. They used to, not anymore. Guess where they're going now to recruit new doctors and nurses? Because they're tired of the Egyptians that don't want to actually heal the sick or treat the sick. They just want the salary. To the point they'll even fake a degree to get here. They're sick of that. They're tired of them. They let the ones who are already here stay until they screw up or uck up or get caught doing wrong, but they're not taking new ones in. Guess where they went? You're going to laugh your behind off when I tell you where they're going now to recruit them. Go ahead and guess in the chat before I get ready to go. Thank y'all for being patient, by the way. Go ahead and guess in the chat. If you can't guess, then go ahead and type in guess where in the chat. Okay, I'm joking about that. I'm just doing my little attorney Dennis Sperling channeling, but yeah, guess where in the chat. Where they're going to get new doctors and nurses from. Because they good. Go ahead, put in the chat. Where you think they're getting them from? Oh, yeah, where you think they're going now? All right, I got 2 guesses. Keep going, keep going. I want to see the rest. Where else y'all think they're going to recruit new doctors and nurses? Keep the guesses coming. Don't quit now. I got 2. Where else y'all think? Come on now. Give me some more. I got 2 guesses. What about some more? All right, come on, y'all. I got 2. I only got 2 guesses. Okay, while I'm waiting on some of the others, let me help y'all out a little bit. Did y'all hear that? Who could hear that? I don't know if y'all could hear that. I know y'all could hear that. All right, hold on. It's funny that you said this, man. It's funny that you said this. Here's why it's funny that you said that, bro. Not sure, but hold up. This was your guess, right? Okay. This here was your guess. That's right. That's where they're going. To get real doctors and nurses that know what the work they're doing when a patient walks in. No joke. You know what? I don't think they're willing to make a trip that far, to be honest. That's a long way away. I don't think the recruiters would even be willing to do that. I'm just not sure. The other thing too is they don't have an embassy. Saudi doesn't. I'm sure Saudi doesn't have an embassy in Jamaica. But yeah, they're going to Nigeria. Now they're getting healthcare workers from all over the country, but a lot of them, the bulk of them, are coming out of the north. No joke, man. Look, bruh, doctors and nurses. You got patients walking in right now, and I know because I'm one of them. They're walking in right now, and they're saying, "This is what I'm here for." Look, please don't give me no Egyptian, Sudanese, or Nigerian. So they're coming in sick, looking for black doctors. Now we think Nigeria, we start thinking scam. Even though it's one particular group that started it, it's mainly one. And other Nigerians associate them with scamming. That's what the real deal is. Fact is, Saudi's looking like, look, we need some doctors. We need some that actually going to try to treat these patients because we got these repeat patients coming in. There's always them Egyptian doctors that they see. And that's messed up because if you're an Egyptian doctor or nurse and you're really doing your job, you got to suffer bad rep because of the ones that ain't worth a dime. But the ones that ain't worth nothing, they sitting up in the hallway chilling, so you see them. They're getting, they're going through the most patients because they ain't spending time with the patient to really see what the deal is. So they're going through the most. So you got a high chance of dealing with an Egyptian doctor or nurse that ain't worth a damn than you do the one that's worth something. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the actual percentage ratio is. The bad ones are going through the most patients because they're in and out. Like, what's wrong? Look, doctor, I got this cough, but here's the thing. When I cough, I'll be coughing up. Kalas, here's a prescription. Hold up, you didn't let me tell you that sometimes it's blood and sometimes it's not. That's how they be doing it. And I know it's real. 2016, I thought I was going to die one day. I remember that it was a Thursday. We all went out. It was springtime. We all went out for dessert on a Wednesday. Canadian, Saudi cat and I, we all went, sat at this hotel. There wasn't much to do in that little village that I was living in. I got the cheesecake. It was springtime, so, you know, it's a little warmer. You got flies flying around. I didn't know that apparently a fly had gotten into the cheesecake, had touched it. Didn't know that. Or maybe somebody cut it and they ain't washed their hands. I don't know. Next morning, I got up. Boy, I was sick as a dog. I thought I was going to die. I couldn't talk. I typed a message to my boss. I was like, I can't talk and I can't move. I said, as soon as I can move, I'm going to go see a doctor about this. Right now, I can't move and I can't talk. I remember that. I was still married to the North African. She sent me these voice notes. She was learning, she was memorizing Quran at the time. So she would record, send it to me, and then she would listen to it later on to see if she could catch any mistakes. So I was like, okay, fine. That was the arrangement we had. So about, 3 in the afternoon, I get a voice note from her. I listen, she's reciting. I set the phone down on my stomach because I was in pain. But the funny thing is my stomach immediately started to feel a little better. After 45 minutes, I could walk and I could whisper. So I got with my man, said to him, hey, listen, later on, can I go to the clinic? He said, yeah, I'll take you. So later on that night, we went to the clinic. Filipino nurse was trying to do her job, right? I didn't blame her. But when I told the staff while I was there, I said, look, I'm feeling better now, but earlier today I was major sick, man. It was bad. I thought I was going to die. I'm trying to figure out, was it food poisoning? And if it was, is it like a particular bacteria or something? I'm feeling better now, but I'm just wondering if y'all can see like any traces of what it might have been so I know what to do. They didn't listen. You know what they did? They gave me a little IV drip. They sent the nurse in to give me a shot. I said, hold up, ma'am. Before I pull my pants down and show my butt to you, did they tell you what it is? She said, no, they didn't tell me. I asked her, did they tell you why I'm here? She said, they ain't tell me. So I said to her, ma'am, I don't want you to get in trouble. Tell them that I refused the shot because they didn't tell you these things. And if they're not going to tell you anymore, I'll pay for the drip so you don't get in trouble, and I'm fitting the guck out. I'm done. I'm not going to deal with this. While I was paying the bill for the drip because they weren't going to explain anything, this doctor standing off to the side called me over, and he said, listen, are you from America? And I said, yeah. He asked me, are you going to go back this summer and visit? I said, I plan to if I, unless I get this sick again. Yeah. He said, cool. You know what this father mucker said? Could you bring me back a pair of size 15 shoes? This father mucker is seeing me pay the bill because they won't communicate with me about a mother cuss word thing. So I'm only paying for the drip that I already got so that the nurse don't get in trouble. And he's going to sit up, call me over and ask me some dumb stuff like that. Father mucker, that's not what's important. You going to help me or not? F your shoes. And I look down, you know how you put your forehead in your hand like this father mucker here. I did that. I put my forehead in my hand like this father mucker here, and I happened to see he had some big feet. Oh, Sasquatch looking ass. I said, man, I ain't got no room in my bag for that, bro. Sorry. Let me go pay this bill. I wouldn't finish paying, bounced. I know every Egyptian ain't like that. But guess what? He wasn't busy with a patient because that's how this mother mucker was. They got 67% on average ancient Egyptian DNA, which means black blood on average. But do they know they're black? No. They get mad if you say it. Some of them know, others don't know. They tend to get mad if you say it. You tell them the ancestors were black, they get pissed. They don't identify. They are not a people of truth as a whole. That's not their reputation. And the honest ones suffer. I wish I was joking. The honest ones suffer. Because just like the pick-me's got to suffer because the hyenas want to keep running a conspiracy and running game on us, an honest Egyptian suffers because other Egyptians don't trust them for being honest. They will say to them, why didn't you tell him that this costs that much? No, I'm not. I wish I was lying. Why did you quote that price? Why didn't you add more onto it? Because that ain't what it costs. That's why. Yeah, but if you told him that, you could have had more money. We could have made more money. It's always, it's that. And when they're honest, and I met the honest ones, they get shunned. Theirs is a lonely existence, much like the pygmies. But they deal with it. They don't change. And that's what I want the pygmies to understand when they come under pressure from the hyenas. Don't flip-flop. Don't do like Rebecca Lynn Pope. No, damn it, we right, hyenas wrong. But in this country, they finally saw this and they said, shuck this fit. We're not going over there anymore to get them, even though they're right next door. F that. We already got some coming in from Sudan, but the population's not that big. But Nigeria's got a lot of people. So they go over there. So when it comes to actually a work ethic and honesty, they have to associate that with a high melanin count, even if it's not what they want to marry, which is their loss. Even they see, no. You want to see some honesty, a sense of justice, you got to go to the motherland. They come and understand that. Some of them go to South Africa and they study and they come back with locks and they want to go back home, talking about some Mama Africa. And they were in Cape Town for 6 months studying. I miss Mama Africa. Think I'm playing? One of them's a student of mine, former student of mine. There's another one. No joke. This kid went out of his way to make me some jollof rice. Now, could he make it? No, but damn, he tried. He was really trying his behind off. I give him an A for effort. And it still tasted good. It just wasn't jollof rice. I'm not Nigerian or Ghanaian, but I know the difference when I taste it. But he tried. It's because he missed the Africans with whom he studied when he lived in Virginia and studied there. To be honest with you, his nose was a bit too wide to deny having any black blood. I think he was trying to reach out without letting anybody else know. I suspect that. But that's what's going on here. Everybody can see it in you, bro. And truth be told, I ain't misogynist. To be fair, I have to admit, they can also see it in the sisters that do follow you, that go with you, that nurture you in that righteousness. They can see it in them too. And we ain't the only group of people in the world to know how to behave. You go into Southeast Asia and see that. I see it in Malaysia and Indonesia amongst the Muslims. Southern Philippines, well, I haven't been to Indonesia or the Southern Philippines, but I've met people from there and I've seen them. Straight forward, straight path. And the funny thing is, we get along well with them and they get along with us. But I've seen cats from the Philippines, Southern Filipinos, Muslims. I've seen them try to, not only try to be down, but try to tell us, no, we have a common ancestry. I've heard them say that. Imagine somebody from there telling you that they're going to take a job working outdoors if they can. Outdoors. And you know this country's hot. It's not hot right now, but you know it gets hot in the summer. Hell, it gets hot. It gets hot when it's springtime for you. It's already warm here. Imagine somebody saying they're going to take a job working outdoors part-time so they can look more trustworthy. Can you imagine that? And I even saw where I saw an interview on YouTube, one of them shorts, where they asked some of them, well, which one do you prefer, especially for marriage? Do you prefer somebody pale skin or dark skin? And some of the Chinese were like, well, you know, it looks better. But there was one dude in China that said, in actuality, a man cannot look like an adult man if he's too pale. That's what he said. Can't look like an adult. Now, he didn't associate it with righteousness. He associated with maturity and masculinity. How true that is, that's up to you to determine. But the thing is, you've collectively determined this. So I'd probably be taken away from you if I were to say that you were just born to be righteous more so than others. I'd probably be taken away from you. Not take in, but taking away from you. And I'm not about to do that. To give credit where it's due. It appears to be that you have linked up blackness with righteousness because you chose. Not even because you were born more so than others to do it, but because you chose more so than others to do it. That's the real uprightness or righteousness. That's the real morality in it. You chose it. So some of you were honoring me by asking me why I think that is, and I appreciate that. And I tried to make guesses, but the real truth is, I think I need to be asking you. I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. I need to be asking you why it is. Because I didn't walk that path. I tried, but I failed miserably. In any case, you all have been very patient, and I mean it from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind when I say thank you. And I hope that what I said benefited you, especially since you stuck with me through 3 hours. And especially since some of y'all came through on that Cash App. So with that being said, thank you. And as always, black heart, black mind, and blackout. And black heterosexual non-select male power, because Leslie Jones supporters don't like it. And black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Again, thank you for flying with me on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. And if you decide to hit the Cash App on your way out of the Jet Black aircraft, please do not punch in any numbers that are going to cause you any trouble or grief later on. Gender justice forever.
Reggae, Soulfyah Reggae. I'm here to say, hear me now. This is